Chapter 260. The fifth seed? Is she more powerful than the ninth seed? Lu Cheng's mother, Xiaofan, asked nervously when she saw the result of the draw. She vaguely remembered that Zhang Fei had said so, but she was not sure. Yes, Zhang Fei answered softly, feeling a little nervous. Although he and Qiao Lei had never expected Lu Cheng to be the champion or runner-up, they sincerely hoped that he could achieve his goal since his old classmate had said that his goal was to be in the top 4. Who would have thought that he would encounter a strong opponent who was ranked 5th at the beginning of the round of 16? It really made people worried about the result. His luck wasn't bad at all. I thought that the top 8 would be the beginning of the test. Zhou Hailin sighed. Qi Yunfei and the other girls unconsciously clenched their fists. In Lu Cheng's fan forum, Eternal Nightfall, Yan Xiaoling tagged, Unparalleled Dragon King, and Okamoto's fan immediately. Quick! Tell me what's so good about Xiaolin? I've read her information and I'm confused. She was always calm and never pretended to be strong. Unparalleled Dragon King replied with a funny emoji. She's good. I think she can compete with Lu Cheng. Their characteristics overlap. Can you say it all in one breath? Yan Xiaoling said with a furious emoji. I'm worried that your IQ is low. If I say too much, you won't understand. Unparalleled Dragon King was used to criticizing the moderator. He thought that this was the best thing about the little girl. She would not get angry no matter how they criticized her. Instead, she would cooperate with them to make the forum full of a cheerful atmosphere. However, sometimes she would become inexplicably irritable and delete friends. She was moody. That's true. Take your time. Yan Xiaoling was not angry. She replied with a humph. Unparalleled Dragon King replied with a red face emoji. Lu Cheng can complete 6 consecutive bursts. She can do the same. Why? Why? Her supernatural ability is not physical strength. Brahmin also appeared. She was very puzzled. Unparalleled Dragon King quickly replied. It's a long story. Let me drink some hot sage tea and tell you all about it. Qiao Lin was born in a martial arts family and had the supernatural ability to metalize part of her body. However, she didn't walk the path of a supernatural ability fighter. Instead, she devoted herself to practicing martial arts. At the age of 18, she obtained the certificate of professional 9th pin with the Vajra fist and lotus steps that were passed down in her family. She became a rising star in the martial arts world of Xing province. But she wasn't satisfied with that. She felt that the martial arts passed down in her family weren't perfect enough. So she took her ancestors' relics and went to Daxing Temple. As you all know, Daxing Temple is a temple of monks. How could they accept a female disciple? She went to the mountainside pavilion every day to ask for help, rain or shine. For a whole year, Abbot Fayuan of Daxing Temple showed her mercy and allowed her to enter the temple for 7 days to study the illustrations of the 3 physical invulnerability Kung Fu, the Lotus Seal of Vajra Realm, the 6-syllable Sanskrit mantra of Womb Realm. And then? Yan Xiaoling urged as if she was listening to a story. This little sister's experience was quite interesting. And then? Qiao Lin learned something from the Vajra fist and improved her family's lotus steps. She also mastered the hum sound of the 6-syllable Sanskrit mantra. Once she recited it, she could squeeze out her body's potential, relieve fatigue, and temporarily stimulate her qi and blood to improve her strength. She used this to complete 5 consecutive bursts in the first half of the year. Sounds awesome. Brahmin praised sincerely. But she could only make 5 consecutive bursts. She couldn't compare with my idol's 6 consecutive bursts. And my idol hadn't reached his limit yet. Good math. Okamoto's fan interrupted. Unparalleled Dragon King replied. Knock on the blackboard. Focus on the key points. The hum sound, which squeezes out one's potential, can only be used once a day. Otherwise, you won't be able to fight in the following matches. Even if you only use it once, it will leave a residual fatigue and affect the following matches. Wait, how do you pronounce the hum sound? It sounds like a cow's cry. Don't you think it's embarrassing to make a cow's cry during a fight? Yan Xiaoling asked after a moment of silence. Hong 4 sounds. You're welcome. Okamoto's fan roared to the sky. Cheng? Hearing Wang Lily's raised voice, Lu Debong and Lu Jiqiang looked at the TV at the same time. They didn't understand what this had to do with Lu Cheng. At this time, the broadcast returned to the performance in the arena. They didn't notice anything. Mom, you saw it too? Lu Yanwei was happy to find an ally. He didn't see it wrong. Yes, I saw it. Why is Cheng on TV? And why is he sitting in the first few rows? Wang Lili knew that the first few rows in this kind of occasion were either rich or powerful. Since when was Lu Cheng either rich or powerful? What are you talking about? Lu Debong asked with dignity as the head of the family. How could Cheng be on TV? Lu Yanwei took a breath and said, Grandpa, wait. You'll definitely see it later. This world seemed to have undergone some extraordinary changes without him noticing. So what if you see it? What's so great about being on TV? Lu Jiqiang replied inexplicably. One of the manifestations of his bad mouth was that he seldom said good things about others. For example, when someone invited him to dinner, even if there were a few dishes that didn't suit his taste or were not good enough, the normal guests would not talk about it so as not to ruin the atmosphere. Lu Jiqiang was different. He would say it out loud and criticize it. He would also nitpick on the gifts given by others, saying that this was not good or that. After confirming his opponent, Lu Cheng didn't pay attention to the rest of the draw and performance. He lowered his head and discussed the details of Qiu Lin with Yan Zheka. Her previous opponents weren't strong. It seems that she hasn't done her best. In the end, Yan Zheka deliberately reminded him. I heard from Gu Shuang that last month, Qiu Lin said in a private party that her goal was to reach the top 3 in this youth tournament. She must have some confidence to say so. Didn't I also say that my goal was to reach the top 4? Lu Cheng complained and pretended to be pitiful. He took the opportunity to ask for benefits. This opponent is very strong. Coach Yan, I need more encouragement. For example, he could shout out the complete word, darling. Wait and see. Yan Zheka rolled her eyes and scolded Cheng in her mind. He was getting more and more insatiable. Who actually agreed so easily? I'm a little nervous. Lu Cheng looked at the words in surprise and felt a little nervous. Facing such a strong opponent, Ku wouldn't play a prank, would she? He didn't dare to ask for more details, fearing that Yan Zheka would go back on her words. He could only suppress his doubts and turn his attention back to his opponent. In the first match, the number 1 seed, Zhang Zhutong, and the number 4 seed, Zhou Zhan, fought fiercely. It took 6.5 minutes for the winner to be decided. Zhang Zhutong gained the advantage and was the first to enter the top 8. This allowed Lu Cheng, who was watching from the sidelines, to witness the power of his furnace force stacking up close. After the song and dance performance, the referee and the game supervisor changed places to recover their strength. The game supervisor walked to the center of the arena and raised his right hand. The second match of the top 16, Lu Cheng versus Qiu Lin. It's really Cheng. In the living room of the Lu family, Lu Yanwei suddenly stood up. Lu Debong picked up his reading glasses in disbelief. Wang Lili and her husband looked at each other, feeling like they were in a dream. Lu Cheng took a deep breath and stood up from his seat. He sent a message to his girlfriend. Coach Yan, I'm going to the arena. Your encouragement should have arrived by now, right? Yan Zheka hummed in a low voice and pretended to be surprised. Cheng, I'm at the airport. Airport. Lu Cheng was stunned at first. Then he understood and burst with joy. You're coming back? This was what he had been looking forward to for days. I'll see you tomorrow. Yan Zheka sent a shy smile. Are you satisfied with this encouragement? Yes. Satisfied. Lu Cheng's face lit up with joy. He breathed heavily and his heart was full of motivation. I can't lose this match. I can't welcome Coach Yan with failure. He put away his phone and strode along the glorious road. Under the focus of the cameras, he confidently and calmly stepped into the arena and handed his belongings to the former referee and the current match supervisor. Qiu Lin entered the arena at about the same time as him. She wore a light yellow martial arts suit with black stripes embroidered with the words, "So I have heard," embroidered on the front. The big screen also showed the words behind her. I'm the best in the world. These words were not domineering, but had a touch of Zen charm. She was half a head taller than Lu Cheng, with very short hair and neutral facial features. She looked handsome and valiant. After the referee announced the start of the dialogue, she smiled and said, "You're now the public enemy of the martial arts circle in Xiaofan." "What do you mean?" Lu Cheng was surprised. "What did I do to deserve this?" Qiu Lin smiled and said, "You've only studied martial arts in another province for a year and you've already beaten everyone else. Doesn't this show that our martial arts circle is too weak?" She was only 21 years old, but she was proficient in all kinds of catchphrases. "You think too much." Lu Cheng was a little amused. "There's no first place in literature, and no second place in martial arts. It's normal to have comparisons in martial arts." Qiu Lin smiled and said, "So we all agree that we can't let you enter the finals. Otherwise, why do you think you'll meet me in the round of 16? Believe me, if you win today, your opponent tomorrow will be either Han Zhifei or Zhang Zhutong." "No way. Is it true or not?" Lu Cheng was stunned and soon realized that he had been tricked by Qiu Lin. Is she trying to arouse my resentment? Shake my mind? Then use Buddhist Zen to restrain me? Lu Cheng took a deep breath and visualized the scene of freezing water into ice. He froze all kinds of distracting thoughts and made his mind as clear as a mirror. No matter whether it's true or not, no matter who tomorrow's opponent is, I have to do a good job in this match first. He stopped talking and closed his eyes to adjust the state of his body. The former match supervisor and current referee looked at the electronic clock and raised his right hand again. "Begin." Boom. There was a sudden explosion in the arena and a clap of thunder on the ground. Qiu Lin's martial arts suit swelled and she stepped in front of Lu Cheng. Lotus steps. Buddha voice accompanying steps. Lu Cheng was shocked. He didn't expect Qiu Lin to have mastered the Buddha voice accompanying steps, a family heirloom. It was normal to make a crisp sound by punching, lashing, and kicking the air. However, it was not the same for body movements. One had to cultivate to a certain extent before they could create a sonic boom due to the high-speed movements, clever changes in direction, and corresponding changes in the muscles and fascias as the force circulated. The Taoists called it setting up spirit and stepping on battle, while the Zen Buddhism called it accompanying Buddha's voice. Lotus steps, cloud and thunder accompanying steps. In the broadcast room of Xing Province Satellite TV, guest commentator Yu Hong praised. There were 8 sounds in Buddhism, namely Liberation Sound, Anusrava Sound, Lion's Roar Sound, Great Lion's Roar Sound, Wisdom Sound, Great Wisdom Sound, Cloud Thunder Sound, and Great Cloud Thunder Sound. Among them, the Great Cloud Thunder Sound was the embodiment of the gist of samsara. According to the Buddha voice, the sound was like thunder, which was the name of the Tempest Temple. The Great Wisdom Sound symbolized prajna, and the Great Lion's Roar Sound represented might, which belonged to the kung fu of physical invulnerability. As for the remaining 5 sounds, they varied according to the force and kung fu they practiced. Each had its own function. Due to Qiu Lin's low level, the Cloud Thunder Sound was more of an external manifestation of her body movement. However, it could produce outward vibrations to effectively eliminate the influence of tremor punch and enhance her momentum, which indirectly enhanced the power of the Vajra fist. With one step, the distance between them was close. Lu Cheng could still hear the Cloud Thunder Sound in his ears. He saw Qiu Lin approaching him, swinging her right arm and clenching her iron fist. Her sleeves fluttered as she swung her fist. Maybe it was because of the wind, the bulging muscles, or both. Vajra fist. Vajra swinging pestle. Lu Cheng's breathing seemed to have been affected by the strong wind created by lotus steps. At this critical moment, he took a step back, lowered his center of gravity, and used force concentration. He swung his arms out in between withdrawing and releasing, fiercely dashing forward. Thunder Roar Zen, retreating shock. At the beginning, he used the outburst of the dance stage without hesitation. Bam! The cannonball exploded on the spot, creating a shockwave. Under Lu Cheng's full force attack, Qiu Lin, who had yet to use force concentration, was like a dandelion seed in the wind. Her feet floated backward. Lu Cheng's right fist hit the metal. It was so painful that he wanted to shake it a few times. However, under such circumstances, how could he let go of this opportunity? He took a deep breath and used force concentration again. He was ready to pounce forward and take advantage of the situation. At this moment, Qiu Lin stopped the slight vibration. Her body swayed like a lotus, and she started to move around with mysterious footwork. It seemed to be from left to right, but it seemed to be from right to left. Rumble! She changed her body shape, followed by clouds and thunder. The arena seemed to be immersed in dark clouds, and the sound of thunder kept echoing. Lu Cheng couldn't determine Qiu Lin's position. The condensed qi, blood, force and spirit were about to erupt, but there was no target. This time, his double explosion seemed to have missed its target. This was Qiu Lin's strategy. She tricked Lu Cheng into using his dance stage outburst, and then took advantage of the moment when he took a breath to attack. I don't believe you can make 10 or 20 consecutive explosions. Boom! With the sound of clouds and thunder, Qiu Lin took the opportunity to flash to Lu Cheng's side. Yu Hong, the guest commentator in the TV studio, suddenly said in surprise. He saw that Lu Cheng was still standing there quietly. His body was empty, and his breath and spirit were still condensed. There was no change. This seemed normal, but in Yu Hong's eyes, it was very abnormal. The force concentration of a dance stage martial artist used the will as a fulcrum to condense the qi, blood, force, and spirit. Once they condensed into a fulcrum, there would be rejection before they could completely merge, and they would inevitably erupt uncontrollably. In other words, as long as the force concentration was completed, there would be an outburst of force in the next moment. There would be no delay, unless the martial artist had broken through the dance stage. That was why Qiu Lin tried to trick Lu Cheng into using lotus steps to break out the dance stage. However, Lu Cheng had been using force concentration for more than 1 second. What kind of talent was this? What kind of supernatural ability was this? Teacher Yu Hong frowned. Since Qiu Lin's position was changing and he couldn't lock onto her, Lu Cheng didn't rush out. He continued to maintain the state of force concentration, waiting for his opponent's next move. As for why he could maintain it, wasn't this normal? All this time, the Jin Dan in his body hadn't collapsed or disintegrated. The force concentration that imitated the Jin Dan could maintain its balance by rotating, unless he changed it himself. If it weren't for the fact that the other parts of his body couldn't withstand this state, he could maintain it until the end of time. Boom! Qiu Lin rushed to Lu Cheng's side from an incredible angle. A light flashed across her face, and her expression became solemn. Then she withdrew her qi and blood and used force concentration. Her muscles swelled and turned into a mighty vajra. She swung her left fist with a metallic luster from above. When she got close, she noticed Lu Cheng's strange state. But the arrow was on the string, so she had to shoot. I've been waiting for you. Lu Cheng let go of his thoughts. The qi and blood in his dantian gushed out, and his force surged like a tide. He swung his left shoulder and punched back with his right arm. Thunder roar zen. Single hand shock. Bam! Another explosion sounded. Both of them shook. Their short hair was blown away by the wind, and they lost control of their feet. Finally, they stepped on the black bricks and broke them. Boom! Qiu Lin operated her force and footwork. She endured the effect of the shock and flashed behind Lu Cheng in a strange way. She used force concentration and punched with her right fist. Vajra strikes the bell. Double explosion. Almost at the same time as she punched, Lu Cheng took a big step forward. He withdrew his qi and blood, condensed them into a ball, and burst out with a loud bang. He leaned sideways and swept his right arm in a fierce arc toward Qiu Lin behind him. Thunder roar zen. Horse shock. Bam! When the two collided, Qiu Lin's muscles wriggled, her fascia contracted, and her strength gathered. In an instant, she condensed Lu Cheng's remaining strength, her qi and blood, and the involuntary shock into a single point. This was a brilliant defense and borrowing technique. Vajra fist. Wisdom King guards the temple, immovable as a mountain. She stood firmly in the same place, neither swaying nor moving. Lu Cheng's blow seemed to have no effect on her. At this moment, a point in Qiu Lin's dantian exploded. The surging and violent force almost expanded her body, making her blood vessels and tendons stand out and glow with a metallic luster. She, who almost occupied Lu Cheng's line of sight, took a step forward. She looked down and punched fiercely, causing a series of explosions. Vajra fist. Vajra subdues demons. Facing this blow, Lu Cheng didn't dare to take it head-on. He bounced back and retreated quickly. Seeing this, Zhang Zhutong in the lounge sighed and said, "What a pity. What a pity. You can hide now, but you can't hide forever." Facing the combination of Vajra subdues demons and lotus steps, The only way out was to meet force with force. It seemed that he didn't have to worry about that guy's freakish physical strength. Due to the fact that the fights below the high-ranked dance stage couldn't last long, for the sake of the broadcast, it was impossible to have 2 fights today and 1 tomorrow. Therefore, the semi-finals and the final would be held on the same night. OM. At this moment, Qiu Lin's bones and tendons rang at the same time. She uttered a solemn and grand Zen sound from her mouth. The Zen sound reverberated in her body, making her face red and her qi and blood vigorous. She seemed to be stimulated by something. She was no longer weak and returned to her initial state. I can't give Lu Cheng any chance. Taking advantage of the momentum of punching forward, Qiu Lin made another burst of strength. Lotus flowers bloomed under her feet, closing the distance between her and Lu Cheng in 1 step. Lu Cheng couldn't dodge and didn't even have time to use force concentration. Her momentum was so strong and her posture was so fierce that even the ignorant audience could see who had the upper hand. At this moment, Lu Cheng suddenly stopped. He stomped his feet, swung his body backward, and threw out a punch. He didn't use force concentration, so this punch looked so weak. However, in his mind, a red sun was crashing down and crashing into the frozen river. He didn't retreat to escape, but to numb his enemy and boost her momentum in preparation for this fatal blow. Thunder roar Zen. Severe warning. Bam. The 2 fists collided. Lu Cheng flew backward like a kite with a broken string. If he hadn't done so, he wouldn't have been able to neutralize the terrifying strength of Vajra subdues demons and the dreadful metallized body. Otherwise, he would have suffered bone fractures or even broken bones. She won. Qiu Lin won. Many of the audience made a judgment. At this moment, as long as Lu Cheng caught up with Qiu Lin and gave her a final blow, victory would be within reach. However, Qiu Lin was stunned in the arena. Her face quickly turned pale, her lips turned purple, and her eyes seemed to be frozen, with little life in them. She seemed to have comprehended the meaning of Buddha at this moment and went on a mental journey. Lu Cheng landed on his feet and took 2 steps back to neutralize the force. Then, he gathered his force concentration and jumped back to Qiu Lin. He opened his right hand and grabbed her throat. At this moment, Qiu Lin felt that she had just woken up from a long period of ice. She hurriedly metallized her neck to resist the enemy's attack. However, Lu Cheng's attack was just a feint. He took advantage of Qiu Lin's slow absolute reaction because she hadn't fully recovered. He swung his center of gravity and flashed to the back of his opponent. He clapped his hands together and landed them on his opponent's temples. The referee was stunned. He raised his right hand and shouted, "Lu Cheng wins." The audience was silent. No one responded. Chapter 261. Lu Cheng wins. The referee's voice reverberated in the arena. Lu Cheng took a deep breath and withdrew his hands. This battle was much more difficult than he had expected. When he had drawn Qiu Lin, he had already prepared a plan for this match. Qiu Lin was good at Vajra Fist, could metallize part of her body, and liked to fight head-on after wearing down her opponent's spirit. She didn't know that he had mastered a simplified physical invulnerability move. With all these factors added up, it wasn't hard to see that the variant version of Severe Warning was suitable to deal with her. He didn't have to worry about missing or being dodged. Facing such a powerful opponent, he had never thought of holding back his ultimate move or not going all out. However, as soon as the battle began, Lu Cheng found that things weren't as simple as he had imagined. Qiu Lin had made a breakthrough and demonstrated the state of lotus steps and Buddha's voice, which he had never achieved before. This meant that he had no time to prepare for Severe Warning. After more than 2 months of hard practice and the improvement of his own realm, he could perform Severe Warning faster and faster. However, it was a simplified move of physical invulnerability after all. He still needed to adjust the corresponding muscles, fascia, and viscera in advance, just like when he used Frost Force in the past. But Qiu Lin's accompanying Cloud and Thunder wouldn't leave him any time to react. Lu Cheng had no choice but to show weakness step by step to boost Qiu Lin's momentum. After taking her triple explosion head-on, he accurately judged that she was going to use the swastika sound to squeeze out her potential. He seized the opportunity and decisively retreated, quickly preparing for the head-on clash. If Qiu Lin could complete the quadruple explosion herself, she wouldn't have to spend any time on the sound of the swastika. If she knew that he had a simplified version of physical invulnerability moves, she could use the lotus steps accompanied by the sound of Buddha to avoid a head-on collision. In that case, it would be hard to tell who would win. It could be said that Lu Cheng had defeated Qiu Lin mostly because he had caught her off guard and a hidden ultimate move that she didn't know about. However, this advantage wasn't so effective once it was used. While thinking, Lu Cheng looked at Qiu Lin, who had turned around. He cupped his hands and said, "Thanks for the match." Qiu Lin's face was still a little pale. She stammered and said, "What kind of ultimate move is that?" Until now, she still couldn't believe that she had lost. She couldn't believe that her mind was frozen just now. Lu Cheng smiled and followed her example. Secret. After he finished speaking, he elegantly turned around, endured the fatigue in his mind, and walked down the ring. Triple explosion followed by severe warning was not something that could be easily dealt with. In the lounge, Zhang Zhutong suspected for a moment that he was watching a fake match. How could Qiu Lin, who had just gained the upper hand, lose so easily in such a short time? The camera panned across Qiu Lin's face, showing her soulless eyes and frostbitten lips. Zhang Zhutong was reminded of Lu Cheng's weak counterattack without using force concentration and Lu Cheng's initiative to back off. It wasn't that he was afraid and didn't dare to take the attack head-on, nor was it that he had forgotten to use force concentration in a panic. He was purposely taking the hit. That move was full of mystery. With Qiu Lin's strength and physique, as well as the vigorous qi and blood from the swastika sound, a simple ice sect force would never be able to make her stiff. A force concentration could solve the problem and seize the opportunity to win. This move is not simple. Zhang Zhutong's pupils shrank, feeling a little scared. If Qiu Lin hadn't stepped on the grenade and he had encountered Lu Cheng in the top 16, he wouldn't have had a good ending either. Lu Cheng had explosive power, killing power, control, and stamina. How could he fight against him? Those who could reach the dance stage were all determined. Zhang Zhutong quickly suppressed his fear and began to think about Lu Cheng's performance just now. Why didn't he use it directly? Why did he take a few steps back? Did he need to prepare? Zhang Zhutong pondered and gradually came to a conclusion. He had found a way to deal with Lu Cheng's move. At this moment, the broadcast on the big screen switched back to the live broadcast room. The host asked the guest commentator in confusion, "Mr. Yu Hong, I don't understand the last collision." Lu Cheng was obviously at a disadvantage. Why did Qiu Lin stand there like a fool? Yu Hong pondered for a moment and said, "If I'm not wrong, this should be a simplified move of physical invulnerability related to frost force." A simplified move of physical invulnerability? The host gasped. A simplified move of physical invulnerability. Zhang Zhutong was shocked and raised his head. A simplified move of physical invulnerability? In the lounge next to Zhang Zhutong, Han Jifei was silent for a long time. Han Ying, who had taken advantage of her brother's power, looked at Xiongyu and found that he was also in a daze. Xiongyu suddenly remembered his previous match with Lu Cheng. At that time, he thought he had a chance to win. Now he thought it was ridiculous. A frog at the bottom of a well. Lu Cheng was like an iceberg in the sea. What he showed was only a small part of his strength. Every battle he fought with Lu Cheng refreshed his understanding of his strength. How terrifying was he? What would it be like if he fought with all his strength? She won? Qi Yunfei rubbed her eyes and couldn't believe what she saw. However, no one answered her question. Just a dozen seconds ago, Qiu Lin was majestic like a Vajra descending to earth. Most of the audience believed that she would win soon. But after a short fight, she lost without any resistance. It was a baffling loss. Qi Yunfei quickly came to her senses. Looking at brother Lu Cheng on the stage, who was as calm as a breeze, and thinking of his strange blow that turned the situation around, she intuitively felt what it meant to be unfathomable, and what it meant to lift something heavy as if it were light. The worship in her heart turned into small stars that kept popping out. Aya, just a little bit more and I would have really become a brother complex. She looked around excitedly and found that Chen Xiaoxiao and the others had the same reaction as her. Brother Lu Cheng is awesome. In the quiet stadium, she shouted in a sharp and excited voice. Hearing Qi Yunfei's cheers, Ma Shi fell into an inexplicable silence. She recalled what her second brother had said to her during the spring festival. He said that he had more confidence, vision, and knowledge. When he looked back at the conflicts of interests at home, he would feel that they were trivial matters that he didn't need to care too much about. There was no need to fight for anything. She still didn't believe these words. But now, looking at her second brother, who made the whole stadium silent, looking at his confidence and suaveness in his every move, she suddenly felt that it was true. In the living room of the Lu family, there was also silence. When Lu Cheng turned around and walked down the arena, Lu Yanwei blurted out and muttered to himself, "It's really Cheng. When did he become Superman? If I didn't hear it wrong, this is the top 16 of the Provincial Youth Fighter Championship. That is to say, Cheng can be ranked in the top 16 of the province's young fighters. No, he is already in the top 8. With such strength, after graduating from college, he can be a deputy director or director of a city police station in politics. In business, he can make a lot of money just by opening a martial arts club. There is no doubt that he is either rich or noble." Wang Lili and Lu Jiqiang subconsciously turned to look at Lu Yanwei. After being stunned, he took off his presbyopia glasses, wiped the corners of his eyes, and kept whispering, "Ancestor bless us, ancestor bless us. Cheng brings glory to his ancestors. Ha 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 ha, my idol is a man who is good at creating miracles. He has even mastered the simplified physical invulnerability moves. He really has the mysterious temperament of a hidden master." Brahman sent a series of red hearts. "Eternal nightfall," Yen Shaoling said, spinning in circles expression. "No no no, I'm overflowing with my maiden heart. Get out of my way, I'm going to show off." She posted her admission notice. Because she was too excited, she forgot to mosaic her name. "Oh, so your real name is Yen Shaoling. What a simple and honest name," Unparalleled Dragon King said, sounding like a compliment. "Of course, it's different from those flirtatious bitches outside." Seeing that her real name was exposed, Yen Shaoling gave up and didn't care anymore. Anyway, it was not the first time she was careless like this. "Focus. Focus on the focus." "Wow, kid, you really got into Songqing University." Brahman replied in a different tone. "Hey, when school starts, I'll be Lu Cheng's junior sister. I also want to sign up for the martial arts club," Yen Shaoling said excitedly. Biting her handkerchief enviously expression. "Can you get an autograph for me?" "Brahman, what's our relationship? I'll definitely get a bunch of autographs for you." Yen Shaoling laughed proudly with her hands on her hips. "Our relationship? Father and daughter," Brahman emphasized. At this time, Okamoto's fan interrupted with a smirk. "Lingling, why do I feel that you're the kind of person who talks big? Don't be shy like a quail when you see Lu Cheng. Don't even dare to speak, let alone ask for an autograph." "Nonsense," Yen Shaoling retorted fiercely. "I don't even dare to go near him. In real life, I'm such a weakling, such a quail." Without waiting for others to reply, she continued angrily, "You're such a fake driver. You just lied to me again. That hum sound was not 4, but 1. Hey, how did you find out?" Okamoto's fan asked with a shocked expression. Yen Shaoling replied with an expression of, "See this bouquet of flowers? I'd rather throw it on the ground than give it to you. I'm not deaf." Just now the grandpa commentator said, hum sound, several times. "'Cause men are so powerful." Gu Shuang was stunned by the scene, and then she praised them sincerely. Gu Shuang didn't know much about martial arts. She could only understand the surface of the first few battles. However, Qiu Lin was a famous young warrior in the martial arts world of Gao Fun. Gu Shuang had learned about her strength from various sources and knew how powerful she was. However, such a powerful fighter like Qiu Lin was defeated by Lu Cheng in just a few moves. This comparison made her realize for the first time the real strength of the stupid Cheng, mentioned by Ku was. Beside her, Xing Jingjing took a deep breath with a slightly uncertain expression. "Sister Jingjing, what kind of nickname do you think Lu Cheng will get?" Gu Shuang's thoughts jumped to this topic. When it came to nicknames, Xing Jingjing couldn't help but gnash her teeth. She answered indifferently, "I don't know. He finished all the battles in just a few moves. Haha, will he be given the nickname Fast Gunner?" Thinking of this, Gu Shuang laughed out loud. In the departure hall, Yen Zhuka heaved a sigh of relief, feeling her heart beating a little fast. She had carefully discussed with Lu Cheng how to fight Qiu Lin before the competition, and knew that her boyfriend would seize the opportunity to use simplified physical invulnerability moves to solve the problem. However, there was still a big difference between talking on paper and actually fighting. In particular, no one expected that Qiu Lin had practiced her body movement to the realm of lotus steps and thunder accompanying clouds. Yan Zheka couldn't help but feel anxious and nervous again. Now that the dust had settled, she sat down obediently with a smile on her face, waiting for Lu Cheng's call. He would definitely call as soon as possible. As soon as Lu Cheng walked out of the arena, he was stopped by the reporter Wu Wei. "You look like you're in a hurry." Wu Wei handed him the microphone with a smile. "Don't you want to be interviewed?" "No. After winning such an important match and defeating such a powerful opponent, the first thing I want to do is to share it with the most important people, family and friends." Lu Cheng's mouth was slightly curved, and his eyes were soft. He was in a good mood. Lu Jisheng, Qi Fang, and the others were watching the broadcast on the big screen, beaming with joy. When they were about to talk about something, they suddenly heard a girl nearby say, "Oh, he looks so cute. I'm a fan now." Chapter 262. Hearing Lu Cheng's answer, Wu Wei laughed. "Actually, you don't have to be in such a hurry. Your family and friends, even if they aren't there, will watch the broadcast when they are free. Isn't it the same for you to share your joy with them here?" "It's not the same. It's not the same. There are many things that I can't say." Lu Cheng made a self-deprecating joke. Saying it out loud would make a lot of people feel sick. Wu Wei almost burst out laughing. She finally managed to stop herself. "All right then. I won't ask you what you want to say to your family and friends. First question. As everyone knows, once you complete force concentration, it will immediately rebound and explode, unless you have made a great leap and stepped into the physical invulnerability stage. However, in the match just now, you seem to have maintained force concentration for 2 to 3 seconds? This is not in line with common sense. How did you do it?" This question was emphasized several times in the live broadcast room. Lu Cheng was prepared for it. He laughed and said, "Aren't ice and fire contradictory things? But my supernatural abilities of ice and fire exist at the same time and work in a balanced way. I can maintain force concentration with them as the foundation. As for the specific details, it's not something that can be explained in a few words, and it's also a personal martial arts secret." This was the explanation he gave Yan Zheka, but it was much more detailed, such as the unity of opposites and rotation balance. The balance of the supernatural abilities of ice and fire. In the live broadcast room of Xing Province Satellite TV, Yu Hong repeated it thoughtfully, dispelling most of his doubts. The balance of the supernatural abilities of ice and fire? Geezer Shi snorted in front of the TV. It seemed that his bastard disciple had indeed incorporated Longhu Immortal's method of using ice and fire to imitate yin and yang to form Tai Chi into force concentration. That was an original idea. This brat really does have some ideas. So that's how it is. Wu Wei made an enlightened expression. Second question. Was the last unique skill you used to stun Qiu Lin was a simplified move of physical invulnerability? There didn't seem to be any warning signs. That's because I haven't mastered it yet. Even if it's a simplified physical invulnerability move, it's still not something I can master and use in actual combat. I have no choice but to simplify it again according to my own situation. Focus on the main part and ignore the details. His own severe warning was a mutated version. Based on the principle of unity of opposites, the visualization diagram was blended with the effect of freezing. Simplified physical invulnerability moves? Wu Wei asked humorously. You could say that. Lu Cheng didn't try to defend himself. He smiled warmly. It was rare for him to be confused. Third question. What did you say to Qiu Lin during the conversation? I see that you rarely interact with your opponents in the past. Did you learn the art of attacking the heart this time? Wu Wei asked again with a smile. We just chatted for a bit. I think the battle of martial arts is not about words. Lu Cheng smiled gently. He didn't mention what Qiu Lin had said. Who knew if it was true or not? Anyway, he would meet the first 3 seeds sooner or later. Yes. Wu Wei saw that the arena had been cleaned up and there was going to be a star song and dance performance, so she stopped talking. Lu Cheng, Thank you for your cooperation. You've already entered the top 8 and you're only one step away from the top 4. I wish you all the best. Thank you. Lu Cheng smiled. Wu Wei quickly stopped Qiu Lin, who had just completely recovered. She handed the microphone to her curiously. Qiu Lin, what do you think of this match? Qiu Lin touched her cold face and smiled bitterly. I thought I would win before the referee announced the result. Who knew she would be knocked out in one move? How did you feel at that time? After being hit by that move? Wu Wei asked the question that was on the minds of many spectators. Qiu Lin thought for a while and answered half jokingly, half sincerely. How did I feel? I was frozen. Frozen? It was really a physical invulnerability move related to the ice sect. Wu Wei felt relieved. During the conversation, what did you talk about with Lu Cheng? Qiu Lin's lips were extremely thin. I made up a story to scare him, but it didn't work. What was it? Wu Wei asked curiously. Qiu Lin thought of what had happened and gritted her teeth. It's a secret. Okay. Wu Wei put on a professional smile. Thank you for your cooperation. You actually did a great job today. Everyone thought that you were as cool as King Kong. I personally don't like this metaphor. Qiu Lin's mouth twitched. In the TV station, a leader slapped his thigh. Let's call it the 6 Vajras and 8 Immortals. 4, what's good about 4? After winning such an important match and defeating such a powerful opponent, the first thing you want to do is to share it with the most important person, family and friends. Yan Zheka was watching Lu Cheng's interview with headphones on. When she heard this, she turned her head and spat. Her heart became soft and calm. Dimples appeared on her face. Her eyes seemed to have become a rippling lake reflecting the starlight. When Lu Cheng finished the interview and returned to the exclusive lounge, she sat up straight and looked around. This was the VIP lounge of the first-class cabin. There weren't many people. She sat in a corner alone with a small round glass table in front of her. The sofa opposite her was empty. As soon as she put the tablet computer on the small round table, her phone began to vibrate violently with Cheng's unique ringtone. Yan Zheka's lips curled up. She unplugged her headphones, pressed her pink lips, and put the phone next to her head. Her voice unconsciously became soft. Hello, Cheng. As expected, this idiot called at the first moment. Lu Cheng's heart trembled when he heard her soft voice. He stood up from the sofa and answered with a smile. I almost lost just now. I don't think so. Although it looked like a close call, I felt that it was always under your control. Yan Zheka said in surprise. Lu Cheng explained with a smile. Qiu Lin was too confident. If she had played her lotus steps and Buddha's voice to the extreme, I would have felt awkward and uncomfortable. Unfortunately, I was illuminated by Coach Yan's moral brilliance. She didn't make the best choice and didn't make the best use of her strength. Are you trying to compliment me? Yan Zheka's eyebrows curled up as she laughed. Ching even knows how to use tricks. This is the truth. When the reporter interviewed me and asked me to share my joy, I wanted to thank Coach Yan for her guidance and her efforts. Lu Cheng lowered his voice and laughed. You're so mushy. Yan Zheka couldn't help laughing. She covered her mouth with one hand and laughed until her body trembled. Lu Cheng smiled and listened to the girl being amused by him. He echoed from time to time and waited for her to stop laughing. After more than 10 seconds, they both quieted down and listened to each other's breathing in silence. They seemed to feel each other's hearts. Between breaths, peace grew and emotions brewed. Finally, Lu Cheng said softly, Ku, what time is your flight? What time will you arrive? 10:05. I'll be there soon. Yan Zheka was still immersed in the atmosphere just now. Her voice was very soft. You'll arrive at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's not safe in the middle of the night. Lu Cheng said with concern. Gu Shuang will drive to pick me up. Tomorrow is the quarterfinals. You have to sleep on time and have a normal schedule, okay? Humph, or I'll ignore you. Yan Zheka smiled with hidden joy in her eyes. Okay. I'll listen to Coach Yan and wait for you to visit me tomorrow. Lu Cheng replied with a smile. They chatted for a while. Yan Zheka suddenly remembered something. She pursed her lips and tried not to laugh. Let's continue talking on QQ later. You should call your parents first. Someone just said that he wanted to share with his family and friends. Hee hee, That sentence was changed at the last minute and was just perfunctory. Does this count as forgetting his mother when he has a wife? Hey, what am I thinking about? You're right. Lu Cheng just remembered the previous conversation. After ending the call, he quickly called his mother. Mom, I went back to the lounge to take a shower. I'm all sweaty. Lu Cheng explained with a guilty conscience. Qifeng didn't know what was going on in the exclusive lounge. Hearing this, she forgot about her doubts and said with a smile, You should take a shower. Cheng, are you hurt? Mom, that woman looked very fierce. I'm fine. I'm fine. There's a special physiotherapist here to help me relax. Lu Cheng added a question that his mother must be concerned about. Mom, I'm in the quarterfinals now. I can get at least 100,000 yuan. I know. Have a good rest in there. Don't rush out. Qifeng smiled even more happily. Over the past few days, she had already learned about the bonus from Jiang Fei, Chao Lei, and the others. While Lu Cheng was on the phone, Yan Zheka logged into the BBS and refreshed the posts, feeling the excitement of her boyfriend's fans. She had mixed feelings about Eternal Nightfall, Yan Shaoling wanting to study at Songqing University and join the martial arts club. On the one hand, she was delighted and found it interesting because this junior sister was very cute. On the other hand, she felt a little weird when she thought about how much Yan Shaoling admired Cheng and was also a member of the martial arts club. With a smile, she scrolled through the replies. When she was about to quit, she suddenly saw a new post. I'm a lip reader. Let me interpret the conversation between Lu Cheng and Qiu Lin. Oh, I forgot to ask. Yan Zheka clicked in and found an ID called Bull Demon King. Qiu Lin said that you are now the public enemy of the martial arts circle in Gaofan. Yan Zheka read one line after another. When she saw that Lu Cheng's next opponent was either Han Zhifei or Zhang Zhutong, she frowned and felt a little angry. Is this true? Or is it fake? Did Qiu Lin deliberately make it up to provoke, or is it true? Thinking about it, Yan Zheka clicked on the chat box in the small group and tagged Xing Jingjing first. Sister Jingjing, can you help me find a reliable lip reader? The police system often cooperated with similar experts. Why do you want this? Xing Jingjing asked curiously. To interpret the conversation between Cheng and Qiu Lin. Yan Zheka didn't hide it. What's wrong with their conversation? Did Qiu Lin flirt with your boyfriend? Gu Shuang popped up. No. Yan Zheka answered without hesitation. Shuang, do you know any reporters or public relations companies? After confirming that, I want to expose the inside story and make it more popular. In this way, no matter whether this matter is true or not in the martial arts circle in Gaofan, we have to avoid arousing suspicion. Gossip is a fearful thing. Chapter 263. After ending the call with his mom, Lu Cheng walked into the bathroom to wash off his tiredness. Wiping his hair with a towel, he returned to the sofa leisurely. When he picked up his phone, he found that it was full of notifications. So many. Lu Cheng opened them in surprise and read them one by one. Du Liu sent a thumbs-up emoji. Cheng, you're awesome. You're the only one I admire in our class. Work hard and get into the top 4. Xing Chenggu sent a message with his long hair. Haha Lu, you did well to show off our Xiaofan's prestige. Work hard. Old Wu, his class teacher in high school, also sent a message. Lu Cheng, very good. I wish you a bright future in martial arts. Lu Yanwei sent an emoji with eyes wide open. Cheng, let's talk about it in detail when you come back. Grandpa wants me to tell you that you're the pride of our Lu family. Wu Ting sent an emoji of scattering flowers all over the sky. Sir Lu, you were so cool just now. You'll definitely get into the top 4. Zhang Qiufan sent a smiley emoji. Sir Lu, you're awesome. Wei Renjie sent a concise message. Congratulations on getting into the top 8. All of them were congratulatory messages from his acquaintances. Lu Cheng was stunned at first, but then he felt proud and happy. The primetime broadcast of Xing Province Satellite TV was really special. Old Wu, his class teacher in high school, loved martial arts and would pay attention to the youth tournament. It was not surprising that he recognized him. But he didn't expect that his cousins would see it too. I wonder if Empress Dowager and father-in-law saw it. What would they say about my performance? Lu Cheng happily shared the news with Yen Zheka. He took out the ointment and started to apply it on his wounds. It was not fun to fight with a metallized fist. It was much more difficult than standing still and waiting for him to hit a piece of iron. Yen Zheka finished the last task and exhaled contentedly. I won't tell Cheng about such a small thing. Otherwise, he'll always praise me. Just then, she heard the airport announcement that her flight would be delayed by an hour. Her heart skipped a beat. She logged into the app to check the details. Due to the weather, the flight could not land and had been redirected to the airport in the neighboring province. In other words, the flight would be delayed by more than an hour, and the flight might even be cancelled. I'm so angry, she muttered to herself in a low voice. However, she still had to maintain a smile as she chatted with Cheng. She couldn't let him notice or worry about her, which would affect his rest at night. Yen Zheka took a deep breath and was about to reply when she saw a new message from Lu Cheng. Ku, your flight is delayed by an hour? How did you know? Yen Zheka asked in surprise and bewilderment. Lu Cheng smirked and said, Jiangnan Feishing Province, 10:05 p.m. With these two pieces of information, if I still can't find out the flight number, wouldn't I be an idiot? The moment I found out, I downloaded that quasi-software, followed it, and asked for a reminder. Yen Zheka lowered her eyes and smiled. Her bad mood seemed to have dissipated a lot. She scolded him in a low voice. Idiot! Then you won't arrive until 2 in the morning? Won't you be waiting for a long time? Lu Cheng asked with concern. It's okay. It's normal for the flight to be delayed. Yen Zheka replied with a cute emoji of holding back tears. In the past, when the flight was delayed at night, she would rather cancel it and arrange accommodation. But this time, she didn't want to postpone it for another day. I can't let Ku wait for nothing. With this thought in mind, Lu Cheng chatted with the girl until almost 11 p.m. Unfortunately, the flight was delayed again and wouldn't land until 12:30 p.m. Why don't you ask your cousin to pick you up? Why don't you come back tomorrow? Lu Cheng suggested. Even if he didn't have experience in flying, he could tell that his girlfriend wouldn't be able to fly until at least 1 p.m. Yen Zheka pursed her lips and replied with a blank emoji. I've been waiting for so long. I can't give up halfway. If there's any more delay, I'll go back. If there's any more delay, I'll probably cancel the flight. This reminds me of a famous saying, since you're already here. Lu Cheng tried to lighten the mood to ease his girlfriend's mood. Don't say that. Because of this saying, since you're already here, I've suffered a lot. Yen Zheka pursed her lips and smiled. She suddenly felt that waiting wasn't so unbearable. Lu Cheng wanted to ask her what she had suffered, but considering the situation here, he decided to postpone it. Can Gu Shuang still come to pick you up? I don't know. I don't know if she can fly. I told her to go to sleep first. I'll call her when I land. Yen Zheka had already made arrangements. Before Lu Cheng could continue the previous topic, she realized something and said with a frowning and angry emoji, You're still awake. What time is it? Are we still going to compete tomorrow? Lu Cheng's heart trembled when Coach Yen showed her power. He quickly explained, I'm just worried that you'll be lonely waiting for me. And the competition is at night. You can catch up on sleep tomorrow afternoon. I'm not a kid anymore. Yen Zheka pursed her lips and replied with an embarrassed emoji. You're not a kid, but you're a fairy. Lu Cheng smiled and typed quickly on the keyboard. Yen Zheka smiled and turned her head to the side. Then she replied, Okay, you go to sleep. I'm a little sleepy and need to take a nap. I'll send you a message when I board. But you're not allowed to reply. Sleep well. Okay, good night. Be careful to keep warm. Lu Cheng reminded her. Ku said that the cold air in the airport was very strong. Lu Cheng put down his phone and quickly fell into a deep sleep. But he didn't sleep well because he was still worried about someone and was waiting for a reminder. Beep. He woke up immediately when the sound rang. He picked up his phone and found that it was a message from Yen Zheka after she boarded the plane. Finally. Clenching fist in tears expression. The girl said. The current time was 12:50 p.m. Lu Cheng smiled and replied with a patting head emoji. Go back to sleep. Glaring at him expression. Yen Zheka asked for a blanket with a gentle expression and a smile. Relieved, Lu Cheng slept more soundly this time, but he still didn't turn his phone to silent mode. After that, he woke up again and received a reminder from the software. Due to airport traffic control, the flight won't depart until 2 p.m. Yen Zheka didn't send a similar message because she was covered with a blanket and fell into a deep sleep half an hour ago. The flight will depart at 2 p.m. and land at around 5 p.m. Lu Qing thought for a while and set the alarm at 4:50 p.m. Waking up half an hour earlier wouldn't make much of a difference. He could still catch up on sleep in the afternoon. At 4:50 p.m., the alarm rang. Lu Cheng didn't need to struggle. He sat up and pressed the stop button. He picked up his phone and checked if there were any messages from Yen Zheka. After finding nothing, he opened the software and confirmed the landing time. 5:15 p.m. I can make it, right? Ku said that it would take more than 10 minutes to get out of the airport. Lu Cheng quickly washed his face, rinsed his mouth, changed his clothes, took his wallet and rushed out of the room. At 5 o'clock a.m., Xiaofan was quiet. Only the street lights were shining. The air was cold and refreshing without the hustle and bustle of the day. The road was empty except for the occasional speeding car. While looking for a taxi, Lu Cheng thought of a famous saying. He chuckled and said to himself, I've finally seen what Xiaofan looks like at 5 o'clock a.m. Under normal circumstances, there was no lack of taxis outside a good hotel. He didn't wait long before he found one. When he got in, he sent a message to Yen Zheka. I'm on my way to the airport. I'll pick you up. Don't call Gu Shuang. Don't disturb her sleep. There was no traffic jam. Lu Cheng leaned back on the seat and closed his eyes to rest. At 5:20 p.m., the software's reminder and Yen Zheka's message arrived one after another. Didn't I tell you to sleep well? Yen Zheka sent an angry emoji. I just woke up half an hour earlier. It doesn't make much of a difference. Besides, I'll catch up on sleep in the afternoon. Lu Cheng typed happily. I'm going to see Ku soon. Humph. Since you're already here, what else can I do? Yen Zheka sent an emoji to reply. But when she typed the words, since you're already here, she suddenly smiled and felt inexplicably sweet in her heart. I don't mean what I say. The traffic at night was very fast. Lu Cheng waited for 2 or 3 minutes in the arrival hall before he saw the fairy he had been thinking about day and night dragging her luggage out. She was dressed very simply in a white t-shirt, jeans, sneakers, and a knitted sweater. Her eyes were bright and her facial features were delicate as usual. Lu Cheng stared blankly for a few seconds. Then he walked over and took the suitcase. Holding the girl's slightly cold hand, he pulled her out like an old married couple. Unfortunately, there were too many people here. Yen Zheka lowered her head and let her hair down. Her face was red as she quietly followed behind Lu Cheng. After a few steps, Lu Cheng chuckled and said, I feel like I'm taking my wife home. Bah! Shameless. Big hooligan. Yen Zheka turned her head and looked to the side. She scolded him in a low voice, but her eyes were full of shyness and happiness. Why don't you rest at my place for a while? We can go there after Gu Shuang has enough sleep. Lu Cheng suggested. Yen Zheka lowered her eyes and said, Then I'll send her a message so she can sleep peacefully. Seeing the girl agree so easily, Lu Cheng felt that she trusted him. While his heart was warm, he teased her. You trust me so much? Aren't you afraid that I'll do something bad? Yen Zheka glanced at him. Humph. You have to do morning exercises and compete. How can you have the mood and ability to do bad things? I'm not afraid. I'm a person with abnormal physical strength. Lu Cheng joked in a low voice. Yen Zheka suddenly blinked her eyes and put on a pitiful look. I'm so pitiful and sleepy. You still want to bully me? She was getting more and more relaxed in front of her boyfriend. Lu Cheng couldn't resist her cuteness. He quickly said, Okay. I won't do bad things. Hee. Yen Zheka laughed in a low voice. She was very proud. They got in the car. It felt like they hadn't talked much before time flew by. Their destination was close at hand. Lu Cheng held the girl's hand and dragged the luggage into the elevator. They came to his room. Not bad. Yen Zheka opened the door and looked around. Lu Cheng closed the door and didn't care about the luggage. He stepped in front of the girl and hugged her tightly. Smelling her familiar fragrance, he whispered in her ear, "Ku, I miss you." Yan Zhika's body was stiff at first, but after hearing Lu Cheng's words, she softened and quietly hugged her boyfriend's back. They kissed fiercely, venting their longing for each other after not seeing each other for a long time. The girl stepped back step by step and unconsciously leaned against the bed. Lu Cheng pulled his head up with great patience. Looking at the girl's flushed face and intoxicated eyes, he almost kissed her again. You still have the competition." Yan Zhika avoided his eyes and said shyly, panting slightly, "I know." Lu Cheng almost howled to the sky. "I'm going to wash my face with cold water." "Go. I'll go with you for the morning exercise later." Yan Zhika smiled and rolled her eyes. Lu Cheng rushed into the bathroom and stayed there for a few minutes. He wiped his face and walked out. But he saw Yan Zhika lying on the bed, breathing deeply. She had fallen asleep. She fell asleep in just a few minutes. It seemed that she was really tired. Lu Cheng didn't have any other thoughts. He squatted down and held the girl's ankle. He listened to her breathing and carefully helped her take off her shoes so that she wouldn't be woken up by the wrong movement. When the two shoes fell to the ground, Lu Cheng followed the rules and helped her take off her sweater. Then he rolled the quilt and covered her body. After doing all this, he looked at Yan Zhika's beautiful and quiet sleeping face. He smiled, bent down, and kissed her pink lips. He whispered, "Good morning, little fairy." When he raised his head, the rising sun shone in a few rays of light, dyeing the bed with a little light, setting off the girl in her sleep, picturesque, peaceful and beautiful. Seeing this, Lu Cheng's heart suddenly calmed down. This was the meaning of protection. He closed his eyes and recalled the various things that had happened recently. Naturally, he made an attempt to withdraw. Qi and blood were withdrawn, strength was retained, and spirit was wrapped. When they rotated and collapsed to a certain extent, they naturally intertwined. Lu Cheng suddenly felt a sense of perfection and perfection. Everything around him was reflected in his heart. When the conditions are right, success will come naturally. Chapter 264. At this moment, Lu Cheng felt that his body was blood, blood was qi, qi was power, and power was spirit. His whole body was smooth and transparent, reflecting his surroundings. The girl's soft and thin breathing entered his ears and seemed to be connected with his pulse. Rays of light swayed from his heart and shone together with the morning light outside the window. The human body Big Dan, round and bright. Following a strange feeling, Lu Cheng closed his eyes, held his breath, dropped his ears, and cut off his senses. However, in his heart, in his mind, little by little, he outlined the scene of the outside world. The dark brown carpet, the curtains that were not closed, the white quilt rolled up on the big bed, the sleeping girl with her legs curled up on her side, the suspicious crystal at the corner of her mouth, the birds flying by outside, the old man jogging, the bright sunshine. This picture was not static, but was developing and changing as if it was real. For example, an ant crawled to the window and tried to come in, but couldn't penetrate the smooth glass. The wonderful feeling quickly faded away. Lu Cheng opened his eyes and dispersed the state of forced concentration. He looked at the window and was surprised to see the ant crawling under the sun. The ant didn't appear just now. What's going on? Lu Cheng was inexplicably surprised. He wanted to try again, but couldn't grasp the wonderful feeling from before. Was it the initial fusion of force, qi, blood, and spirit during the body Big Dan that triggered the gene Dan and brought out its characteristics similar to the ice mirror? Or was it a little mixed in? Lu Cheng thought about it and planned to explore it bit by bit during his daily training. He moved his body and felt the changes of stepping into the Dan stage. To be honest, since breaking through was a process and not a node, he had already improved most of what he needed to improve. Currently, he didn't have any fundamental improvement. It was only because of the initial fusion of his spirit, force, and qi and blood that his force concentration became smoother and more natural. The explosive power had also increased a little. Although it was strange to use the phrase like an arm moving a finger to describe it, it was indeed a good way to express the subtle feeling of exerting force and controlling one's body. From this point of view, he was qualified to get the certificate of professional 7th pin after being able to explode several times, master the frost force, and have a simplified version of physical invulnerability moves.
Of course, there was still a gap in the foundation between him and the real 7th pin or even the experienced 8th pin. From the dance stage onwards, he would cultivate the subtle structure of the body, improve the body from the essence, break the limits of the human body, and increase the overall strength, speed, and so on.
This was also one of the 2 keys in the future, the connecting heaven and earth, and the internal root pulp training. According to some half-true and half-false information circulating on the internet, the ultimate of the internal root pulp training was that one's willpower and spirit could influence the genes. Combined with visualization, core force training, and the feedback of nature, they would gradually mutate. Therefore, the offspring of the high-ranked dance stage and the real mighty ones of physical invulnerability would have a situation where they were born with supernatural abilities. And the masters who had reached the same level would really experience qigong deviation, which was symbolized by the collapse of the genes. Phew, with another half a year to improve my physique, I'll be able to reach professional 7th pin. Lu Qing thought happily. He stepped to the window and pulled the curtain and the shade cloth to block out the sunlight, making the room dark and suitable for sleeping. He looked back at Yan Zheka's quiet and beautiful side profile and whispered with a smile, "Coach Yan, I'm going to the morning exercise." He left the room quietly, closed the door softly, and went to the nearby park to consolidate the realm of Dan Qi. After breaking through this threshold, he would really have a firm foothold in the martial arts world and be able to bear the initial responsibility for Ke's future. Not needing to waste time, Lu Cheng saved a lot of time and put more energy into adapting to this realm. In the past, his martial arts were mainly based on the fighting style of the body refining state. Although it didn't mean that he couldn't use these basic moves when he reached the Dan stage, he had to integrate them with the characteristics of his current realm and not copy them completely. And the fight with Qiu Lin, a mighty ones of the Dan stage, had taught him a lot. Especially the move Wisdom King guards the temple. It had given him his own ideas and direction to try. Lu Cheng's muscles swelled to create friction, canceling out the explosive sounds of punches and kicks. Lu Cheng began to practice the moves. The more he practiced, the more silent they became. Turbulence was hidden in the calm waves. In the sunny restaurant, Yu Hong sat in the parent's seat, squinted his eyes and smiled. The sun rises so early in summer. And so does the heat. He picked up a stack of newspapers and casually flipped through them, waiting for his wife to give him breakfast. Now only a stubborn old man like you is reading newspapers. Everyone has learned to surf the internet. His wife came out of the kitchen with a plate and nagged. I'm used to it. Yu Hong took the plate with a smile. After eating in silence for a while, his eldest grandson, who came to visit during the summer vacation, suddenly said, Grandpa, look at this news and these Weibo posts. What news? Yu Hong took the phone, puzzled. He squinted and was shocked by the title. Shady. The Youth Competition Organizing Committee of Xing Province deliberately suppresses geniuses. Swiping his finger, Yu Hong quickly read the rest. At the end he couldn't help but curse. Ridiculous. Do reporters nowadays have any professional ethics? How can this kind of thing be published in the news? How can you take what they say seriously? His eldest grandson looked at him in fear and whispered, But there's a lot of noise on the internet. Noise? Let me see, Yu Hong said with a sullen face. As the content came into view, he gradually frowned. There were 2 groups of people arguing on the internet. One group was to his liking, thinking that what they say during the chat should not be taken seriously, and that it was a psychological attack. The other group believed that there was a reason for this. In the martial arts world, the fight for face, so it wasn't surprising that there would be such suppression. As the argument went on, it became more and more popular. Not only did the people who were paying attention to the youth tournament join in, but even some people who had nothing to do rolled up their sleeves and chose sides to argue. After reading for a long time, Yu Hong felt that he couldn't go on like this. He picked up his phone and called the chairman of the Provincial Martial Arts Association. The number of high-ranked Dan stage fighters in the province could be counted on one hand. How could they not know each other? Oldine, have you seen the news? The one about shady business? Yu Hong went straight to the point. Yin Huaming smiled bitterly. Yes, I saw it. When I first heard that there was a lip-reading expert, I didn't take it seriously. It's only been one night. How did it become so big? Sigh, some reporters just want to make a big news, make a name for themselves, and criticize everyone. That little girl Qiu Lin is too much. Of all things, She just has to scare people in this aspect. Also, although my friends on the internet are enthusiastic, they don't necessarily care about this kind of news. If they don't care, it will fade away. Not many people will take it seriously. He poured out his grievances. We old guys don't know what's going on the internet. Who knows what's going on? What are you going to do? Yu Hong comforted him. Hold a press conference. Ask Qiu Lin to come and clarify. Tell her some common sense about the chat time, and then deal with it coldly. Yin Huaming sighed. Yu Hong thought for a moment and asked in a low voice, what if Lu Qing really picked Han Zhifei or Zhang Zhutong tonight? Yin Huaming was silent for a moment and answered, then it's like yellow mud falling into your pants. Even if it's not H*T, it's H*T. He probably wouldn't be able to clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Before Yu Hong could say anything, he said to himself, there are two ways. First, ask the reporter who exposed the news to draw lots and let her draw whatever result she wants. Second, just to be safe, don't let Lu Cheng pick Han Zhifei or Zhang Zhutong. At 8:30, Lu Cheng, who was beginning to feel tired, put away his frame, bought breakfast, and returned to the hotel. This time, he gained a lot from the training. The sun was shining outside the window, and the room was dim and fragrant. Seeing that Yen Zheka was still sleeping, he gently put down the breakfast, found a change of clothes and other things, and turned to go out. Hey, Qin Rui, are you up? He called his old classmate without hesitation. I'm up. We've finished our morning exercise. Do you want to have breakfast together? The breakfast in this hotel is pretty good. Qin Rui answered with a smile. Lu Cheng laughed. I've already eaten. I want to take a bath in your room. What's wrong? Is the bathroom in your room broken? Qin Rui asked in surprise. Lu Cheng took a breath. It's a long story. Don't ask. He couldn't say that Yen Zheka was sleeping on his bed, and he didn't dare to take a bath in his own room for fear of waking her up. What would others think if he said that? Okay. Qin Rui was puzzled, but he still agreed. After taking a bath, Lu Cheng returned to the room. Sitting on the bed and looking at the girl's pure and flawless face, he suddenly felt that he needed to catch up on sleep. He took off his pants, pulled the quilt, carefully got on the bed, and moved to the side of his little fairy. Yen Zheka unfolded her arms and touched his body. Feeling his warmth, she woke up with a start. She opened her misty eyes and stammered with a confused look. You're so cute. What's going on? I'm here to catch up on sleep. Lu Cheng supported his body with his left hand and laughed. Catch up on sleep. Yen Zheka looked out of the window blankly. What time is it? It's almost 9 o'clock. I've finished my morning exercise and brought you breakfast. Lu Cheng laughed. But you're so easy to wake up. I've been so gentle. It would be strange if I didn't wake up when there was suddenly someone beside me. Yen Zheka rolled her eyes at him and gradually recalled what had happened before. She groaned. You didn't wake me up. We agreed to do morning exercise together. I saw you sleeping so soundly. How could I bear to do that? Lu Cheng slowly moved closer to his little fairy and touched her skin. Yen Zheka pouted playfully. I just felt a little sleepy and wanted to take a nap to recover my energy so that it wouldn't affect my morning exercise. Anyway, you could wake me up with you beside me. But in the end, humph. After the torment of waiting in the middle of the night, the kiss with Cheng made her completely relieved. She relaxed and felt sleepy. When Lu Cheng tried to hug her, she suddenly lifted the quilt and got off the bed from the other side. Where are you going? Lu Cheng asked with disappointment. Yen Zheka didn't turn around. She pursed her lips and said unhappily, to change into pajamas. Okay, I'll wait for you, Lu Cheng responded happily, deliberately imitating his little fairy's tone. You're getting more and more funny. Yen Zheka was squatting beside the trolley box, laughing so hard that she almost couldn't stand up. The blush on her face when she said, to change into pajamas, dissipated a lot. She brushed her teeth and changed into a half-sleeved nightgown. She closed her eyes, gathered her courage, and crawled back into bed. Then she put her feet on Lu Cheng's thighs and laughed in a low voice. Hairy legs. The familiar body temperature, smell, and feeling made her feel dizzy. She recalled the half-naked photo that Lu Cheng posted and couldn't help but chuckle. What are you laughing at?
Lu Cheng felt the girl's skin.
Nothing, just a smile. Yan Zheka half turned her body and curiously put her hand on Lu Cheng's abdomen. The two touched closely. The light in the room was dim and a faint fragrance floated to Lu Cheng's nose. Lu Cheng immediately breathed heavily, his heart beat fast, and his body excited. Yan Zheka was also a good martial artist with listening skill. She immediately felt it. She blushed and patted Lu Cheng lightly. Sleep well. What are you thinking about? It's hard for me not to have any reaction when you're like this. Lu Cheng said helplessly. Then I'll sleep well too. Yan Zheka quickly adjusted her body and lay down obediently, secretly laughing. Sleep, sleep. Lu Cheng turned around and hugged her, forcing himself to freeze water into ice. Throughout the day, Yan Zheka went to report to Gu Shuang's place and made up for her training. Lu Cheng also accompanied his family and friends for dinner. In the evening, after studying the situation of each opponent again, Lu Cheng took a deep breath and stood up. I should go to the stadium. Yan Zheka stood up and helped him tidy up his collar with a gentle look. She stood on tiptoe and kissed him on the lips. Her face was flushed and she said, Good luck. Chapter 265. It was a summer evening and the clouds were burning. There was no sign of dimming yet. Lu Cheng walked in the twilight in a good mood. He was slowly building up his fighting spirit from the warmth of staying in his room all day. He was only one step away from the top 4. At that time, he could also tell his master the good news. When he entered the stadium and came to the exclusive lounge, he saw Feng Siki, the staff member who was in charge of serving the seated fighters. Hello. The white-collared beauty bowed with a standard 8-tooth smile. Hello. Lu Cheng nodded and greeted her. He felt a little strange. In the past 2 days, Feng Siki and he were somewhat familiar with each other. She would always find topics to chat with him outside of politeness to make him feel at home. But now, she was obviously alienating him. Lu Cheng shook his head and didn't think too much about the change in her attitude. He walked to his room. Suddenly, after stepping into the dance stage, he sensed that Feng Siki was sizing him up with a strange look in her eyes. What's wrong? Lu Cheng asked calmly. He didn't hide his confusion. Nothing. Feng Siki lowered her gaze at first, then asked curiously, Mr. Lu, didn't you see the news? What news? Lu Cheng asked in surprise. Was there any news that I should pay attention to? After last night's competition, he had browsed the forums and news to enjoy the praise in the reports and the happiness of his fans. But he didn't find anything that could make Feng Siki act strangely. As for today, he had hugged his little fairy to catch up on sleep. Then he focused on studying more battle videos of the remaining 7 opponents. Finally, he had a close conversation with Yan Zheka. He had been living a good life. How could he have the time to pay attention to outdated news? There were 2 most valuable parts of news related to martial arts competitions. The first was when the competition had just ended. There would be news from various angles. The winner would be showered with compliments, while the loser would need to be mentally prepared. The second was the in-depth report that would be released every few hours. This was more technical. Every punch and kick during the fight would be analyzed under a magnifying glass. This was Lu Cheng's favorite content. It could help him to summarize after the competition and find his own problems that were difficult to find. The next day, most of the similar news articles were rehashed. Lu Cheng would only focus on them when he was free. You don't know? Feng Siki raised her head and looked into Lu Cheng's eyes. She felt his eyes were deep and dark. It's not a big deal. I'm going to do something else. She stomped away in her high heels, leaving Lu Cheng at a loss. What news? With this question in mind, Lu Cheng stepped into his own lounge. He took out his phone, logged into the website, and started searching. What he saw gave him a fright. His fan forum was a mess. A bunch of people were quarreling there, making Eternal Nightfall and Brahmins so angry that they stomped their feet. After browsing for a while, Lu Cheng figured out what had happened. A lip-reading expert had interpreted Qiu Lin's words. Then it was accidentally seen by a reporter and exposed. It raised a storm of doubts about the youth tournament organizing committee. As one of the protagonists, Lu Cheng was also mentioned. Some people sympathized with him, wanted to cheer for him, and supported him firmly. On the other hand, some people suspected that he was the culprit. They deliberately hyped up the news and pretended to be weak. They didn't hesitate to smear the organizing committee and the Gaofan martial arts world to avoid a strong enemy. I got shot even though I didn't do anything. No wonder Feng Siki looked at me like that. Lu Cheng suddenly realized. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Feng Siki was a staff member of the Martial Arts Association and the Youth Tournament Organizing Committee. He saw the post about the lip-reading expert, Bull Demon King. But he didn't care about it. He thought it was just a small dispute in his own forum and wouldn't spread. His mood wasn't affected much because there were tall people to hold the sky up. The focus of the dispute was undoubtedly the Youth Tournament Organizing Committee. He didn't receive as much attention as the reporter who was criticized for his lack of professional ethics. I don't want to think about it. I'll take whoever I get. Lu Cheng closed his eyes and adjusted his mind. Anyway, I never thought about avoiding Zhang Zhutong and Han Jifei. I was ready to fight them. At 7:20, Feng Siki knocked on the door of Lu Cheng's lounge and told him he could enter. He was sitting in the first seat on the left of the second row of the guest seats. Lu Cheng patted his martial arts suit, stood up, and walked to the exit. Here, he met Zhang Zhutong, Han Jifei, and Lu Xuanjun. These martial artists kept a distance from him quietly, as if they wanted to avoid arousing suspicion. They were the mainstays of the Gaofan martial arts world. Do you think he did it himself? Did he use tricks to guarantee the top four? Zhang Zhutong put his hands in his pockets and asked leisurely. It was unclear whether he was talking to Han Jifei on his left or Lu Xuanjun on his right. He didn't lower his voice, as if he wasn't afraid that Lu Cheng would hear him. Or rather, he deliberately let Lu Cheng hear him. Maybe the ultimate beneficiary is the most suspicious. Lu Xuanjun said concisely. Zhang Zhutong chuckled. Maybe he was scared by Qiu Lin's words and didn't want to fight me in the quarterfinals. That's why he found someone to make a big deal out of it so that he can take advantage of his freakish physical strength. After witnessing Lu Cheng defeat Qiu Lin, he regarded Lu Cheng as the opponent second only to Han Jifei in this competition. So, from now on it was time to start a spiritual battle. You're better at telling stories than Anderson. Lu Cheng complained but didn't respond. He would lose if he took it too seriously. It would easily affect his state of mind in this competition. He took a breath and visualized the scene of water turning into ice. At this moment, Han Jifei said in a low voice, "It's not necessarily him. He's not the only one who benefited. Who else?" Lu Xuanjun frowned in confusion. The organizing committee and the TV station. Han Jifei looked around and said, "Don't you think the competition has attracted a lot of attention with such revelations and quarrels?" Those who didn't watch the youth tournament and only glanced at the news, as well as some netizens from other provinces, were attracted to watch the broadcast. In this impetuous era, it was good to have attention, whether it was praise or criticism. Lu Xuanjun sighed and didn't say anything else. He was convinced by Han Jifei. This kind of hype was a specialty of the entertainment circle. Some movies and TV series would quarrel again and again before they were broadcast. For the organizing committee, as long as they showed fairness in the end, they could use this quarrel to attract more attention. How could it not be a good thing? For the TV station, it could improve the ratings and reach more people without hurting their reputation. How could it not be a good thing? Zhang Zhutong nodded thoughtfully and said with a smile, "It seems that I misunderstood." He said it casually as if the previous accusation had never happened. When Yan Zheka arrived at the competition venue, the guests had already taken their seats. She followed the prompts and found her seat. She found Gu Shuang and Xing Jingjing. "Is there any problem over there?" Yan Zheka asked cautiously. Gu Shuang smiled and said, "There won't be any problem. It has nothing to do with us." Then, she sent the rest of the message to be on the safe side. If the organizing committee wants to investigate, they will only find the TV station. They also want to make a hot topic. Under Yan Zheka's suggestion, she didn't come forward directly. Instead, she asked her friends to contact the TV station's people and then found a public relations company that had a good relationship with the TV station. "Then I'm relieved." Yan Zheka sighed with relief. She couldn't let this affect Cheng's image. While they were talking in low voices, many people were attracted by the beautiful Yan Zheka, including Chao Lei and Qiu Hailin in the back row. Look, isn't that Yen Zheka from the 3rd class? Chao Lei pulled her teacher's sleeve. Qiu Hailin looked over and saw Yen Zheka in a chiffon blouse with her hair in a half bun. She looked so beautiful in the noisy environment that Qiu Hailin, as a girl, was a little absent-minded. It's her. She also came to watch the game. Yen Zheka? Hearing their words, Jiang Fei and Cheng Qili, who knew about their secret relationship, turned their heads in surprise.
They followed the direction of their eyes and saw the girl who was more and more beautiful.
This was the first time they saw Yen Zheka after more than a year. They only felt that she was more beautiful than the goddess in their memories. She had more confidence and temperament than she did in high school. Especially when her eyes moved, they were really dazzling. Being looked at like this, Yen Zheka, who had achieved a small success in meditation, had a subtle feeling. She looked over subconsciously and saw a few strange but familiar men and women. Fatty Jiang. She recognized Jiang Fei first because Cheng showed her the group photo in his mobile phone. With this, she immediately understood that they were Lu Cheng's relatives and friends. The one with half-frame black-rimmed glasses and pimples should be Cheng Qili, old Cheng. The guy with a drunken face should be Tao Xiaofan. The one with a head showing was the class leader of the 4th class, Qiu Hailin. The delicate girl was Cheng's old deskmate, Chao Lei. Well, the uncle with the gold-rimmed glasses. Wasn't he, Cheng's father? And the aunt next to him was Cheng's mother? For some reason, Yen Zheka felt inexplicably shy. She blushed and shyly greeted Jiang Fei and the others. Fatty Jiang knows my relationship with Cheng. I can't be impolite in front of uncle and aunt. After greeting them, she immediately turned around and sat down. Covering her burning face, she complained to Gu Shuang. Why did you choose this place? What happened here? Gu Shuang was confused. Cheng's parents are sitting behind us. Yen Zheka whispered. Gu Shuang was stunned at first, then laughed out loud. What a coincidence. An ugly daughter-in-law has to meet her parents-in-law. Bah! Yen Zheka was shy and embarrassed. Yen Zheka knows us? Why did she greet us? Tao Xiaofei asked in surprise. Chao Lei was also confused. Maybe she knows me. Qiu Hailin said with uncertainty. As the class leader of the 4th class, she had met Yen Zheka several times. Jiang Fei closed his mouth tightly, afraid that he would accidentally reveal something. The miserable state of the iron chain was still vivid in his mind. Sister Lei, is that your classmate? She's so beautiful. She's much prettier than the internet celebrity. Qi Yunfei and Chen Xiaoxiao also noticed Yen Zheka waving her hand. Qi Feng smiled and said, That girl is very pretty. That's your daughter-in-law. Jiang Fei secretly complained. Sitting in his seat, Lu Qing didn't care about other people's gazes. He smiled and watched Yen Zheka tell the story of her parents behind her. Does this count as meeting the parents? He smiled and typed on the keyboard. At this moment, the guest drew the first contestant. Number 18, Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng raised his head and looked at the arena. Yen Xiaoling and the others also focused their eyes. They swore that if the result was wrong, they would start to slander the committee. The guest drew Lu Cheng's opponent. Number 6 seed, Meng Jiefeng. She picked up her phone and sent what Xing Jingjing had told her to Lu Cheng. 6th seed? In the living room of the Lu family, Lu Debong cheered up. He picked up the phone next to him, dialed the number, and laughed loudly. Oh, old Lu, are you watching TV? Are you watching? Have you watched Xing Province Satellite TV? It's broadcasting my grandson's competition. It's the youth tournament, a provincial tournament for young martial artists. He's already in the top 8, and he's up against some 6th seed. Which grandson? Cheng from the Jisheng family. Old Zhu, didn't I mention this to you before? Look at Xing Province Satellite TV. Cheng is here. Old Mr. and Mrs. Lu informed their relatives and friends one by one. They were so excited that their faces were rosy. Wang Lili pulled Lu Jiqiang and whispered, Why don't you tell old Xian and the others? This is also a good thing for our family. Wei Wei will have more confidence when he goes on a blind date in the future. What's there to say? What if he loses? Lu Jiqiang never had anything good to say. Lu Yanwei sat in the single-seater sofa nearby, feeling the liveliness in the living room. For a moment, he felt like he was dreaming. Isn't the life I've been dreaming of Cheng's? I can see hope in a better future. In the high school group chat, Du Liu, whose nickname was Little Xin, sent a link. Everyone, go and support Cheng. He's up against the 6th seed in the top 8. What the hell? Tong Hua, his former deskmate, asked blankly. Before Du Liu could answer, Jiang Fei, who had been patient for a long time, said, Cheng, that's Lu Cheng. He's taking part in the provincial youth tournament. He's already in the top 8. Really? Really? Xiong Tao asked in surprise. The provincial young warrior champion competition? That sounds like a very high standard. When Lu Cheng was in high school, he was good at studying, but he was not good at sports. It's true. I'm totally in awe of Cheng. Qin Rue, who was with the Gushan Martial Arts School in another stand, echoed. With a recognized master like him as a witness, the students of Class 4 were skeptical for a moment. They clicked on the link and buffered the data. Lu Cheng's fan forum was as lively as it had been since this morning. The returnees, led by Nye Chi and all good names are taken by dogs, expressed that they were very happy to see the familiar moderator of the forum, Eternal Nightfall, and the lovely girl, Brahman. They would support Lu Cheng and continue to cheer for him. Bull Demon King and Naive, who joined because of the conspiracy, were disdainful of the result of the draw. They thought it was inevitable that things would get out of hand. They hoped Lu Cheng could defeat his opponent and enter the top 4 smoothly. Bad Girl and a Scheming Bitch, as well as other conspiracy theorists, used the result of the draw to slap the faces of the conspirators, saying that there was no bullying and that it was all Lu Cheng's hype. They hoped that he would catch a cold and be seriously ill. Looking at the continuous chaos in the forum, the onlookers, Eternal Nightfall, Brahman, Unparalleled Dragon King, and Okamoto's fan, all sighed and wanted to return to the harmonious and stable situation in the past. As die-hard fans, Eternal Nightfall and Brahman both admitted that they were weak. Because it was the first match, Lu Cheng and Yen Zheka didn't discuss for long before the singing and dancing ended. The ring was cleaned up and the referee walked up. He had to put down his phone, calm his mind and focus on improving his condition. The first match, Lu Cheng versus Meng Jiefeng. The referee glanced at the electronic clock and gestured to both sides. Lu Cheng had the impulse to wave to Yen Zheka in the stands, but he restrained himself when he thought of her special reminder and felt the focus of the camera. He couldn't show his affection in front of the TV audience, or his father-in-law would kill Xiaofan tonight with a knife. Recalling Yen Zheka's kiss of encouragement in the evening, he took a deep breath and walked along the road of light to the stone steps under the illumination of the big lights. During this process, he was like a newly bought car. Every step he took was equivalent to a trip. His body and mind were gradually getting used to each other and his momentum was slowly rising. When he stepped on the ring, there was a series of explosive sounds in his body, either crisp or low. His bones and tendons were crying at the same time, rising steadily. Such power made the audience hold their breath and feel that Lu Cheng, the number 18 player, seemed to be a little taller. Meng Jiefeng was of medium height, with short hair and strong eyes. Wearing a dark blue martial arts suit, he looked a little charming. He stepped on the ring almost at the same time as Lu Cheng. He stood straight and restrained his momentum, not tit for tat. The referee raised his right hand and exhaled. Talk time starts now. Meng Jiefeng looked at Lu Cheng with a smile. You must be under a lot of pressure, right? It's normal. Lu Cheng answered without humility. No, you're lying. Meng Jiefeng's eyes suddenly became sharp, as if he was interrogating a criminal. You're afraid that you'll be affected by my cold wind force and fall sick after the match. If you lose to your opponent in the semi-finals tomorrow, you won't be able to enter the finals. In that case, you won't be able to prove your strength. Everyone will think that you're a scheming villain who made it to the semi-finals by some unscrupulous trick. He wanted to plant the seed of indecisiveness in his opponent's heart, make him make a mistake in judgment, and make him hesitate. I have a clear conscience. What others say doesn't affect me at all. Lu Cheng said frankly, if there is an opponent, I will challenge him face to face. If there is a smear, I will also challenge him face to face. I will fight back with victory again and again. This is my martial arts creed. It may not be mature, but at least it's my true thought. When I step on the ring, I will only think about the opponent in front of me. I will use all my strength to welcome him and defeat him. This is the greatest respect for him. As for the later matches and the final impact, it's not within my consideration. Because of the disturbance before the match, he had some feelings. With the help of this conversation, he sorted out his thoughts.
In actual combat, the more you are afraid of something, the more likely it is to happen.
He had to be firm in his thinking. Meng Jiefeng narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, I hope you can remember what you said just now. He didn't say anything more. He didn't want to overdo it. After a while, the referee confirmed the time, raised his right hand again, and swung it down fiercely. Begin. Meng Jiefeng's muscles and fascia suddenly swelled, stretching his martial arts suit. Visible to the naked eye. His blood vessels and tendons were protruding. They were dark blue like iron, making his skin as hard and cold as metal. Golden jade body was just a way to describe it. Meng Jiefeng took a step forward. With his back as the axis, he twitched the fascius on the side and opened his right arm. Bam! His neck suddenly became thick, rubbing against the air and making an explosive sound. The dark blue blood vessels and fascius seemed to outline a horrifying pattern. Bam! With a series of crisp sounds, his right fist swung out as his body rushed forward at a high speed. Lu Cheng's heart was as cold as ice. As his thoughts flashed, he shifted his center of gravity, straightened his spine, and jumped back. After stepping into the dance stage, his condensation stance seemed to have improved because of the wonderful feeling. It didn't mean that he had a premonition or the absolute reaction to malice, but it helped his mind to be clearer, his vision to be more direct, and his judgment to be more accurate. Seeing his opponent retreating, Meng Jiefeng stepped on the ground and followed up with the help of the accurate rebound force. However, just as his body was about to leap forward, Lu Cheng suddenly stopped. He lowered his center of gravity and exerted strength in his footsteps. In a split second, he turned from retreating to advancing. He expanded his back muscles and punched out his right fist. A ferocious counterattack. He grasped the timing so well that Meng Jiefeng's punch was very awkward because he had used up all his strength and hadn't used up all his strength yet. Hiss! Meng Jiefeng took a breath, slightly retracted his strength, and then released it. This made his right fist strangely retracted, and his left arm became bigger. He swung it out horizontally, and the dark blue pattern on his neck became more obvious. This was the application of the strength of the whole body as one. Seeing that his arm was about to hit his opponent's fist, Lu Cheng suddenly shifted his center of gravity again, dragging his arm that was actually swung out. He changed his position abruptly, disappeared from Meng Jiefeng's sight, and flashed to his back. In this abrupt process, Lu Cheng's strength changed smoothly, so that his twisted movements were smooth and natural. Dance stage! In the TV broadcast room, guest commentator Yu Hong seemed to exclaim, "Dance stage!" Zhang Zhutong didn't go back to the lounge, but stood on the sidelines, exhaling. What he didn't want to see happened. In one match after another, Lu Cheng maintained his high-speed growth, shortening the time needed to grind, and became a real dance stage mighty one. Once he was behind his opponent, Lu Cheng straightened his back without hesitation, so that his right fist could be regenerated. With his tightened muscles and the thundercloud in his mind, he smashed towards Meng Jiefeng's spine. Bam! The wind was so strong that Meng Jiefeng's hair stood on end, and he felt a little pain and numbness. But he didn't look panicked, and instead, he raised the corner of his mouth. "Good, you're behind me now." Suddenly, an evil bell engraved with patterns appeared in his mind. Bas! His abdomen wriggled, and his internal organs were stimulated. A low, inaudible, evil sound came from his throat. When Lu Cheng's fist was about to hit, his ears moved, and his head suddenly throbbed. His arm couldn't help but soften. Chapter 267. Ever since he was a child, Lu Cheng, who was considered healthy, had never experienced what it meant to have a splitting headache. But at this moment, he suddenly understood the meaning of these 4 words. In the arena, in the middle of a battle without any warning,
It was as if he suddenly had an acute illness.
No, it was not an acute illness. He remembered the changes in his ears and instantly realized what was going on. It was the unique skill of the plague sect. It was the unique skill of the plague sect that gave people headaches when they couldn't hear it. And the opponent would definitely take advantage of your illness to kill you. At this moment, Meng Jiefeng pursed his lips and his eyes flashed with a strong desire to fight. He turned his waist and kicked his right leg from the bottom to the top, like a scorpion swinging its tail.
One of the most common mistakes made by fighters who were close to or had just entered the dance stage was to think that they could respond with force concentration at any time.
It was true that they could reduce the effect of the headache by shrinking their qi and blood.
But at such a distance, blindly using force concentration was equivalent to being a human sandbag. Even if the force of an ordinary attack would be reduced, and it would be difficult to directly break the attack in defense of force concentration, I can still kick your vital parts.
Bam! His dark blue trousers tightened in an instant, and his whole right leg seemed to have become thicker. He whipped the air between Lu Cheng's legs. Horseback kick. Scorpion swings its tail. Lu Cheng just woke up, and the scene of the life and death battle with the professional ninth pin of the dark sect flashed in his mind. His hair stood on end, and he seemed to have stepped back into the dangerous situation where he could lose his life in 3 to 5 moves. There was no fear, no panic, and no hesitation. His heart was as cold as ice, so he calmly made a decision. He moved his arm joints and stretched his fascia. In a very short distance, he flicked his 5 fingers and grabbed Meng Jiefeng's back, tearing his dark blue martial arts suit. Clang! Meng Jiefeng reacted immediately. His skin swelled like iron, and blocked the claw that could break a metal chain. Lu Cheng didn't expect to break the defense of the golden jade body at once. The force at his fingertips was smooth and transparent, and the claw became a press. He pressed down. Under the pressure, Meng Jiefeng's center of gravity sank, and the power of his right leg almost dissipated halfway. It slowed down for a moment, then slowed down for a moment, then whistled again. With the help of the rebound from the downward press, Lu Cheng endured the headache, swayed his center of gravity, and forcibly turned his body sideways, narrowly avoiding the deadly horse kick. He also took advantage of the momentum to bounce back a few steps, widening the distance between them. He gathered his qi and blood, gathered his strength, and concentrated all the sensations of the headache into one. Beautiful! Attack as defense, advance as retreat. Caught off guard, Lu Cheng's response was too beautiful. In the TV broadcast room, when Lu Cheng flicked his 5 fingers, guest commentator Yu Hong praised, "You can watch the replay later." Meng Jiefeng's abdomen swelled and his throat squirmed. Obviously, he used a sound skill that is hard to hear. If I'm not wrong, it should be the pain chime of the plague sect's chime of the bell. He has never used it before, so it's impossible to guard against it. In this situation, Lu Cheng, who has a headache, can still make such a response, which shows his actual combat ability. He suddenly paused, because Meng Jiefeng didn't look disappointed after his kick missed. He turned around and faced Lu Cheng. When Lu Cheng was about to use the force concentration, his eyes turned dark again, his abdomen swelled, and his throat trembled. Together with the chime of the chime, he made an invisible sound. Bass! The blood vessels on Lu Cheng's forehead throbbed, and his head hurt again. His spirit was also affected, and his attempt to use the force concentration was disrupted before it was completed. The sound skill of the plague sect not only attacked the body, but also the spirit. Meng Jiefeng used the headache chime twice in a row. Even with the physique of the dance stage, his face turned pale. Taking advantage of the chaos in his opponent's body, he took a deep breath, bulged his temples, and flushed his skin. Boom! As if there was gunpowder exploding in his body, he swung his right arm backward and shot forward, driving his body to break the airflow and shortening the distance. Like a cannonball, he blasted toward Lu Cheng's chest and abdomen. This is the modern blast punch, mixed with the tremor punch. I came to this youth tournament with the intention of entering the top 4 and creating an upset. The backlash from the disruption of force concentration made it impossible for Lu Cheng to make similar attempts for a short period of time. He didn't have time to dodge or move away either. Facing the fierce fist, he took a short breath to stabilize his qi and blood. He visualized a scene of dark clouds and thunder. Bam! The muscles of his hand, wrist, forearm, and upper arm tightened. He swung his shoulder and punched with his right fist. Seabed quake. Tremor punch versus tremor punch. Bang! An explosion came from the smokeless arena, blowing wind and waves in all directions. Lu Cheng's qi and blood were tumbling, and his internal organs were stimulated. He felt so uncomfortable that his throat was dry and his mind was dizzy. Meng Jiefeng also had a similar feeling, but since he practiced the gold and jade body, he was much more resistant than his opponent. His abdomen shrank, and his neck became thicker again. Blue and black veins bulged out, weaving into a strange pattern. Bam! He didn't retreat. His swollen left arm fiercely punched out, his fist glowing with a blue and black luster. Lu Cheng was afraid of being affected by his opponent's unique skill of the plague sect, so he didn't dare to use the force concentration before he completely recovered. He only used the internal training method to control his internal organs, compress his muscles, and create a reverse shock to counteract the attack. In a hurry, he crossed his arms in front of him to block Meng Jiefeng's fist. Whoosh! With a whistling sound, Lu Cheng only felt that his opponent's fist was hot and cold, which made his body feel empty all of a sudden, as if he had been hit by a dark wind. He couldn't help but shiver, as if he was about to fall ill. Cold wind force? He thought of something and didn't hesitate anymore. He visualized the scene of a red sun falling to the ground and smashing into the frozen river. He didn't have time to prepare for the severe warning, but that wasn't his goal. According to the discussion before the competition, he used visualization to drive the collision between the frost and the flame to create the explosion of the supernatural ability and disperse the strange force invading his body. Ice and fire strangulation. Boom! Lu Cheng's face alternated between red and blue. The cold current and the hot wave mixed and surged out, completely eliminating the feeling of emptiness. However, Meng Jiefeng couldn't just watch him recover, so he kept on attacking him without any interruption. As soon as the cold wind force came out, he got rid of the negative status of the continuous use of the headache buzzing. He planted his feet, lowered his waist, and used the force concentration. Boom! The force gushed out. Meng Jiefeng's skin propped up, showing the blue and black color. He took a step forward with a slightly taller posture, bent his back, and flicked out his right arm. He made it connect the joints and expand gradually, as if it had turned into a long spear. Pulley! Lu Cheng had just gotten rid of the influence of the cold wind force, and now he was facing this seemingly invincible attack. Under normal circumstances, a normal dance stage fighter wouldn't have time to use the force concentration to resist. Failure was close at hand. However, Lu Cheng took a breath and immediately restrained his qi, blood, force, and spirit. However, he didn't try to go to the extreme, nor did he try to condense it into a point. Instead, he hugged a half-formed Dan in a fast way. It contained a way to balance and a way to rotate. The half-formed human body Big Dan first solidified and then exploded, surging out a strong wave. This is also possible. The guest commentator Yu Hong whispered to himself. This seemed to be an attempt by a martial artist to imitate the force concentration, but in fact, it was different from them. Except for the fact that the power was much weaker, it was no different from the real force concentration. In a flash, Lu Cheng completed the half-formed explosion of the dance stage. His muscles swelled rapidly, and he leaned forward. He swung his shoulders and punched down. Bam! When the two fists collided, Meng Jiefeng leaned back again. His arm muscles stretched so much that his sleeves were about to burst. He gave full play to the pulley force. Lu Cheng's half-formed explosion was obviously weaker than Meng Jiefeng's full strength. After being hit by the pulley force, he couldn't stabilize his center of gravity and was thrown into the air. From the beginning, he had been passive all the time. Between life and death, every move was fatal. Yan Zhaka unconsciously covered her mouth, afraid that she would call out Lu Cheng's name. Before the carp leaping over Dragon Gate, a martial artist who didn't have the supernatural ability to fly was forced to leave the ground. This meant that he would soon lose the match. Meng Jiefeng had been hiding his strength in the previous matches, but now he was showing his true strength. Awesome! Zhang Zhutong smiled with a complicated tone. Meng Jiefeng was much stronger than before. If Lu Cheng hadn't encountered him, Zhang Zhutong would have been forced into a passive position. Lu Cheng wasn't the only one who could surprise others. Qiu Lin could do it, and so could Meng Jiefeng. After sending Lu Cheng flying with one move, Meng Jiefeng once again concentrated his qi in his dantian and made a double explosion. Crack! With a cracking sound, He pounced on Lu Cheng like a cannonball. At this time, Lu Cheng had just adjusted his center of gravity and was still 2 meters away from the ground. If he hadn't blocked the attack with his half-formed explosion, he wouldn't have been able to adjust his center of gravity. Seeing Meng Jiefeng standing below and waiting for a chance to make a move, Lu Cheng took a deep breath and adjusted his center of gravity so that his upper body leaned down. Then, he seized the short time to adjust his muscles and prepare. In his mind, he visualized the scene of the red sun falling into the frozen river. Come on. Accept the severe warning. Seeing Lu Cheng was about to land on his head, Meng Jiefeng suddenly smiled and stepped to the side of his opponent's feet. It's not like I haven't seen the fight between you and Qiu Lin. It's not like I don't know that you have a simplified physical invulnerability move. How can I fight you head-on when you have time to prepare? Meng Jiefeng's joints were accumulating strength, and the fascia on his wrist and fingers were protruding. The eagle claw broke through the air and the spear finger blocked the rear. Lu Cheng wasn't disappointed by his opponent's caution. Taking advantage of the time when his opponent moved, he made a force concentration in midair. His body suddenly curled up into a ball with the convergence of his qi, blood, force, and spirit. Then, he quickly stretched his body in the air and kicked out his right foot fiercely with the help of the explosive force of the dance stage. Bam! His right foot kicked Meng Jiefeng's eagle claw. Using the rebound, he straightened his body and kicked out his left foot toward his opponent's throat, as if he wanted to use it as a fulcrum to fly to a higher level. Chang'e flying to the moon. Meng Jiefeng was shaken by Lu Cheng's dance stage kick. He deeply felt that if it weren't for the fact that Lu Cheng was in midair and couldn't fully exert his strength, he would have taken a few steps back and lost the opportunity to win. When Lu Cheng landed on the ground, he would have made 2 force concentrations and let out 2 headache noises. It would be very difficult for him to defeat his opponent who could still make several consecutive bursts. He raised his left arm and blocked Lu Cheng's foot. Following that, he flipped and pushed, leveraging on Lu Cheng's strength to make his opponent fly higher. Lu Cheng used this opportunity to swing his body and jump forward. He flipped over his opponent's head and dived into the distance like a big bird, looking for the support of the ground. But Meng Jiefeng swung his center of gravity and took 3 steps back. Once again, he seized the position. He took a deep breath, condensed his qi and blood, and made a force concentration. Bam! His temples bulged, and his waist and back twitched, making a rocket-like rocket cannon. A real cannonball. While he was making a force concentration, Lu Cheng also made a force concentration. He condensed his qi and blood and accelerated his fall as if he had used a 1,000-pound drop. Boom! At that point of explosion, Lu Cheng suddenly tightened his martial arts suit and reached out his right hand to grab his opponent's fist. Bam! His blood vessels and tendons were protruding, trembling involuntarily under the impact of the explosion. But his 5 fingers firmly grasped his opponent's right fist. Bas! While operating the internal training method to eliminate the vibration, Lu Cheng heard his opponent's movements with the help of the great success of meditation. He was going to make a left punch. Seabed collapse. Lu Cheng's 5 fingers changed from grasping to pressing. His body bounced up and avoided Meng Jiefeng's consecutive attacks in time. Then, he seized the opportunity to lower his center of gravity and finally landed on the ground before his opponent kicked out his right leg. With his feet on the ground, Lu Cheng took a deep breath and made a force concentration again, swinging his left arm back. Double explosion. At such a close distance, Meng Jiefeng had no other choice but to make a second double explosion. His temples bulged, and he made a modern blast punch to meet Lu Cheng head-on. Bam! Both of them trembled at the same time. Meng Jiefeng resisted with his golden jade body, while Lu Cheng completed another force concentration to recover completely. Triple explosion. He was going to suppress his opponent with continuous explosions. The unique skills of the plague sect were very powerful, but I won't give you a chance to use them. Bam! Unable to keep up with the rhythm, Meng Jiefeng's arms trembled, his qi and blood rolled, and he lost his center of gravity. Lu Cheng took the opportunity to catch up with him. He circled around his opponent and swung his arms. Dang! 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 1 shock. 2 shocks. 3 shocks. Lu Cheng hit the metal with his fists and continuously made Thunder Zen, not giving Meng Jiefeng a chance to recover and use the unique skills of the plague sect. 4 shocks. 5 shocks. 6 shocks. Lu Cheng stretched out his body like the thunder god descending to earth. He punched his enemy's shoulder with his right fist from above. Dang! A crisp sound echoed. Meng Jiefeng staggered, but he didn't suffer any external injuries. Instead, he fell to the ground in dizziness. Lu Cheng was so excited that he wanted to give him 2 more Thunder Zen, but was stopped by the referee. Lu Cheng wins. His voice reverberated far and wide, and the audience actually felt a sense of contentment. Chapter 268. Lu Cheng wins. Seeing Meng Jiefeng fall to the ground and hearing the referee's announcement, Yan Zheka forgot her modesty and scruples. She stood up with a whoosh, waving her hands and shouting something unconsciously with a flushed face. Before this, her heart was constantly changing with the development of the battle. She had accumulated too many worries and uneasiness. She always felt that her boyfriend was forced to walk on the edge of danger, walking on a tightrope, swaying, and could be defeated by the next move at any time. Now, with the dawn and the arrival of victory, the accumulated emotions surged like a volcanic eruption, as if experiencing the force concentration. She was so excited that her body trembled slightly. Cheng won! Cheng won! Relaxation, ecstasy, pride, excitement, and other emotions were like a storm, roaring and circling in her heart for a long time without stopping. After the initial outburst, Yan Zheka calmed down a little and regained her rationality. Subconsciously, she turned her head and looked in the direction of Lu Cheng's parents, Lu Cheng's other relatives and friends. She was afraid that they would notice her loss of self-control and realize something. He won. Even if Xiaofan did not understand the martial arts competition, she could still feel the thrill just now. She could feel the silence and depression of Jiang Fei and the others. At this moment, her heart returned to its original place and she broke out with excitement that was rarely seen in the past. Not only her, but Lu Jisheng also tilted his gold-rimmed glasses and kept waving his fists with the people next to him. Chao Lei and Qi Yunfei also vented their emotions and shouted crazily, "He won! He won! Cheng, brother Lu Cheng, won!" Seeing their reaction and the camera still focused on the arena, Yan Zheka secretly felt relieved, knowing that no one had noticed her excitement just now. At this moment, she found that Gu Shuang beside her was also waving her hands and excitedly joining the crowd, shouting, "Lu Cheng! Lu Cheng!" After a while, Gu Shuang noticed the gazes of her 2 best friends. She shrank her neck and stuck out her tongue. The battle was so thrilling just now. I'm also very excited. Together with the atmosphere of the scene, she forgot to be a lady for a while. Then let's continue. Yan Zheka held her best friend's hand proudly and waved it forward. Lu Cheng wins. When the referee's voice entered his ears, Lu Cheng stopped what he was doing and let out a long sigh of relief. He suddenly felt relaxed and happy. Just now, it really made him relive the thrill of taking a life in 3 to 5 moves. This was different from the battle against Qiu Lin. At that time, although Qiu Lin had displayed the realm of lotus steps and Buddha sound accompanying, which was beyond his expectations and made things difficult for him, the whole process was still under his control, just as Ke had said. Previously, when Meng Jiefeng used the weird sound skill of the plague sect, he had been in a passive position. When he was thrown into the air by the force, every step he took was fraught with danger. He had been walking on the line of failure. If there was a slight flaw in his judgment and response, he would be defeated and unable to make it to the top 4. This was a test of one's actual combat, as well as a measure of one's realm. If he hadn't truly stepped into the Danchi level, his force concentration would flow naturally. However, it was very likely that he wouldn't be able to complete it in time in mid-air. Therefore, he wouldn't be able to rely on it to do things that seemed to go against the human body and the laws of nature. After seeing Meng Jiefeng struggling to stand up, Lu Cheng relaxed his muscles and fascias and said with a smile, "You have the strength to make it to the top 4. I'm not being modest." Meng Jiefeng gasped for breath, his eyes still showing dizziness. It took him a lot of effort to resist the urge to vomit. "Unfortunately, I met a freak like you." If Lu Cheng's physical strength had been a little weaker, he would have had the chance to squeeze out his remaining strength and use the headache sound again. Unfortunately, there was still no sign of fatigue on his face. Sigh, if only I had the strength of a 7th pin and could use the headache sound again when he was thrown into the air, the result would be different. Lu Cheng didn't have the ability to read minds, so he couldn't hear the series of what if in Meng Jiefeng's mind. He could only follow his tone and say, everyone has their own strengths. Although I'm freakishly strong and can explode several times in a row, haven't you also mastered the sound skill of the plague sect? If I had it, you wouldn't have a chance at all. Perhaps it was because of the residual excitement after the hard battle, he didn't turn around and leave the arena after a few words as usual. For a moment, he even showed signs of turning into a chatterbox. You're right. You're right. Meng Jiefeng shook his head and shook off the what if. He rubbed his temples and said, the cold wind force is not that simple. You should take a hot bath later and don't stay in the air conditioner at night. If you catch a cold tomorrow, don't blame me for not warning you. No wonder it's the influenza virus. The unique skill of the plague sect is really disgusting. Lu Cheng cupped his hands and said, thank you. After that, the two turned around and left the arena in different directions. I won. In the living room of the Lu family, Lu Yanwei touched his chest and found that his heart was beating so fast that it was almost unbearable. Too exciting, too exciting. This match is too exciting. Fortunately, Cheng won. He took 2 deep breaths and suddenly remembered something. He turned his head and looked to the side. Even a young man like me is so excited. Grandpa and Grandma are so old. I hope they don't have a heart attack. In his worry, he saw his grandpa's ruddy face and heard him ask in confusion, you won? I won. Lu Yanwei gave an affirmative answer. Good, good, good. Lu Debong and Lu Yanwei picked up the phone and called their family and friends. Qing enjoyed the praise and compliments for a while. Wang Lily glared at Lu Jiqiang and complained, it's all your fault. Why can't Qing win? Quick, call old Xian and the others and make them proud. It's already over. What's the point of calling? Let them watch the replay. Lu Jiqiang refused to admit his fault. In the high school group chat, another deskmate of Lu Chang, Wang Jia, sent an emoji of Madam Chai smiled slightly, thinking that things are not so simple. Oh my god, I feel like I'm in a fake high school with a fake deskmate. Me too. Jiang Fei sent an emoji of cold sweat. I think I've been living in a fake world since I met Cheng. Du Liyu's former deskmate, Tong Hua, sent an emoji of snap of fingers. I remember. At the reunion before the new year, didn't Lu Cheng say that he was successful in martial arts and was young Master Lu? He really is a young master. Oh right, he also said that he quit drinking and smoking in order to practice martial arts. Because of this, he had a conflict with a rich man. I didn't believe it at first, but now it seems that it's true. Please don't say it. We didn't have a conflict. Tao Xiaofei sent an emoji of, I'm now at Brother Lu's beck and call. I'm so proud. Many of the students who had been lurking in the water surfaced and excitedly discussed the battle just now. They didn't expect that a classmate would become a celebrity after only 1 year out of high school. He was so awesome. You scared me to death. After Wu Ting finished venting her passion, she grabbed Zhang Qiufan's hand and said in fear. Zhang Qiufan raised her head proudly. I wasn't scared. I always believed that Sir Lu could win. You're inexperienced and have no vision. I've been through a lot and experienced all kinds of challenges and scares, but I still support Sir Lu and believe that he can win. We're in different worlds. Wu Ting said with conviction. Zhang Qiufan and Yao Ruiwei next to her were stunned. They seemed to think that it was true. Wu Ting glanced at her father Wu Qingguei and her uncle Wei Renjia, only to find that they were all silent and didn't know how to communicate with each other. She was shocked, speechless. Walking down the stone steps, Lu Cheng looked at the stands and pretended to wave to his parents. In fact, he was looking at Yan Zheka in front of him. Lu Cheng, we meet again. Wu Wei stopped him. Congratulations. You really made it to the top 4 and achieved your goal. Thank you. Lu Cheng retracted his gaze and responded politely. Wu Wei chuckled. So what's your new goal for tomorrow's game? Every question was a trap. I don't have a specific goal. I'll play every game well and verify what I've learned. I'll apply what I've thought and practiced in practice to see if it works or not. If it works, why it doesn't work. Lu Cheng was still chatty like before. Nothing interesting. Wu Wei criticized in her mind. Then she asked again with a smile. Everyone noticed that you were stiff twice in the game just now. There was also a painful expression on your face. Was it because of your opponent's unique skill of the plague sect? How did you feel at that time? Yes, it should be the sound skill of the plague sect that can't be heard by human ears. As for feeling it, it was like my head was going to split open. Lu Cheng recalled the battle. Wu Wei asked about some details of the game. Then she raised her eyebrows and smiled. Lu Cheng, have you heard the news? The news about your conversation with Qiu Lin? Yes. Lu Cheng knew that the reporters wouldn't let it go. What do you think? I think a lot of people are saying that it's unfair. Wu Wei asked skillfully. Lu Cheng didn't know whether she meant that the organizing committee was unfair to him or that Lu Cheng didn't draw Zhang Zhutong and Han Jifei, which was unfair to the other contestants. Lu Cheng thought for a while and said, I believe that the organizing committee is fair. I always do. He didn't say more because he felt that the more he said, the easier it would be for him to be criticized. Is this the trouble of becoming famous? Yan Zheka sat down again and listened to her boyfriend's interview. She seemed to understand his feelings. She frowned slightly and took out her phone to check Lu Cheng's fan forum, only to find that it was still noisy. On one side, Eternal Nightfall, Brahmin, and Unparalleled Dragon King were venting their excitement. Some were acting cute, some were infatuated, some were analyzing, and some were congratulating Lu Cheng for making it to the top 4. On the other side, many people were still cursing, and their attitudes were even more vicious. See, he made it to the top 4 with a trick. If he hadn't drawn Meng Jiefeng, he would never have made it to the top 4. He just said that he always believed in the organizing committee. Hypocrite, a hypocrite worse than a villain. F***CK, F***CK. Nothing good ever happens to good people. Bad people always get what they want. Seeing that they were cursing fiercely, Eternal Nightfall couldn't hold back her anger anymore. She jumped out and said, Don't you have eyes? Don't you have ears? Didn't you hear the guest grandpa say that Meng Jiefeng has mastered the sound skill of the plague sect and has the strength to make it to the top 4? She tried to make herself look fierce, but it was true that she was not good at insulting people. She looked weak. So what? It's just a mouth. Yan Zheka looked at them cursing and Brahmin and others joining in the fight. Suddenly, she felt a little emotional. She pursed her lips and gritted her teeth. These shouldn't be borne by Cheng. After Zhang Zhutong defeated a non-seeded fighter, Han Jifei defeated the 3rd-seeded fighter, and Lu Xuanjun defeated the 8th-seeded fighter, the audience began to leave the stadium. Yan Zheka followed Gu Shuang and Xing Jingjing to a nearby parking lot with a heavy heart. All of a sudden she raised her head and said with determination, I'm not going anywhere. Shuang, take me to Cheng's room. Ah! Gu Shuang was confused and then blurted out, Isn't he in the semi-finals tomorrow? What are you thinking about? Yan Zheka was annoyed and amused at the same time. Then she bit her lower lip and said, I have something to tell him. Can't you QQ or call him? Gu Shuang frowned. Yan Zheka shook her head and said, I want to tell him face to face. Okay. Gu Shuang knew that Ku was stubborn and wouldn't change her mind easily. She had to give in. In the room, Lu Cheng had just arrived and turned off the air conditioner. He was about to brush his teeth and go to bed when he saw a message from his girlfriend. I'm outside the door. Outside the door? Lu Cheng was confused and at a loss. Isn't Ke sleeping with Gu Shuang? Why is she outside my door? Could it be? He couldn't help but think of something else. His throat was dry and his mind was full of strange thoughts. Tomorrow is the semi-finals and the final. Forget it. Go to hell with the competition. It's not like there's only one challenge tournament. He ran to the door and suddenly felt something was wrong. Ku's message was not as lively as usual. Something else? He opened the door in confusion and saw his girlfriend in a chiffon blouse. She looked fresh and graceful in the dim light. He moved aside and let her in. Lu Cheng closed the door and was about to say something when Yan Zheka looked down at her toes and said, Cheng, do you know about the scandal? Did you see the quarrel in the forum? Yes. What's wrong? Lu Cheng asked in surprise. Yan Zheka took a breath and bit her pink lips. I asked someone to create hype. I'm afraid there will be suppression. After saying this,
She exhaled as if she had been freed from a difficult situation. Since it has come to this, I don't want to hide it from Cheng.
Ah! Lu Cheng was stunned. He suddenly remembered his conversation with Meng Jiefeng. He said he had a clear conscience about the scandal. Was it because the committee didn't pick Zhang Zhutong or Han Jifei? It was not fair to the other contestants. He knew Ku was doing this for his own good. He was touched but also had other inexplicable emotions. Yan Zheka glanced at him timidly. Chang, are you angry? Hearing his girlfriend's question and seeing her quail-like appearance, Lu Cheng said, No. Casanova's teaching flashed in his mind. If you want to communicate, you need to communicate with a good attitude. When communicating, you need to praise the girl first. Lu Cheng considered his words and continued, I'm actually quite touched. You've done so many things for me. I can feel your heart, but what? Yan Zheka heaved a sigh of relief and asked. However, in the future, if there are similar and bigger matters, can you discuss with me first and ask for my opinion? Lu Cheng hurriedly explained, I'm not saying you didn't do a good job. I just don't like the feeling of being kept in the dark. In this way, he could persuade her in time. Yan Zheka said, I didn't want to hide it from you. That's why I came here. Maybe I'm used to making my own decisions. I haven't developed the habit of discussing with you. I'll try my best in the future. After this incident, she suddenly felt that when two people were together, they had to be honest with each other. They had to communicate and discuss with each other. They couldn't be too self-centered. This was indeed uncomfortable, but it was a price they had to pay. I will too. Lu Cheng didn't dwell on the previous incident. Since it happened. Hearing his words, Yan Zheka suddenly snorted. It's good that you know. If something like Wang Su happens again in the future, will you still do it without asking for my opinion? No, I won't. Lu Cheng hurriedly promised. How long ago was this? Why did she mention it? Who was the one who wanted to apologize just now? Chapter 269. Looking at Lu Cheng's dumbfounded expression, Yan Zheka chuckled, turned her head to the side, and explained with a blush on her face. At that time, maybe I just had a vague feeling for you, and I didn't know it until later, so the reaction wasn't too strong. After we were together, every time I thought of it, I was scared. I even had nightmares because of it. If you had made a mistake at that time, While speaking, her eyes were slightly red. Lu Cheng felt sorry for her. Lu Cheng's heart ached for her. He reached out and pulled the girl into his arms. Then he sat sideways on the bed and let her lean on him. I was too rash and immature at that time. I won't do it again. Dating, marriage, companionship, and growing old together were not only emotional matters, but also practical life. It was a change from a state where one did not have to worry about food and family to two people who shared a common destiny. Every idea and every decision one made did not only concern oneself, but also had to consider the other half. That was responsibility. It would sacrifice a lot of freedom, but there was nothing in the world that didn't come with a price. Yan Zheka leaned on his chest and felt his tenderness as he stroked her hair. Her tone became light as she said, I believe you. I'm not angry. I just want to tell you my worries and fears. Sometimes, if you don't say it out loud, how can you expect the other party to truly understand? I'm not stupid. She didn't raise her head, paused, and continued. I know that some things have to be done. My grandpa always said that no matter a man or a woman, there are always some responsibilities that must be borne. There are always times when you have to risk your life without hesitation. But you can't be impulsive. You have to seriously weigh the pros and cons, and then make a decision. It's not a big deal to do something impulsive. Even the hooligans on the street can do it. A real hero should still do it after careful consideration. In the future, when you encounter a situation like this and have to do something, I won't stop you. I just hope that you can tell me, let me bear it with you. Grandpa, you're so right. Lu Cheng sighed with emotion. Ku was indeed better at expressing and communicating than he was. If it were him, he probably wouldn't be able to make it so organized and highlight the key points. I'll think twice in the future. I'll discuss it with you. At this point he laughed and said, I really want to see Grandpa. Who's your grandpa? Yan Zheka complained and asked curiously, why do you want to see him? I want to see what kind of senior can teach such a good girl and make you have such good values. Lu Cheng snickered. Bah! You mushy guy. You just want to compliment me. Yen Zheka couldn't help but laugh. Her mood had completely calmed down. She joked. Humph, let me punch your chest with my little fist. Your little fists can break stones. Lu Cheng echoed with a smile. They laughed for a while. Then Yen Zheka looked up, pursed her lips and asked worriedly. Cheng, you really don't mind those haters, those dirty words? You didn't do it. It's all my fault. I'd be lying to you if I said I don't mind. But it's okay. I just felt wronged and wronged before. Now that I understand, it's okay. What you did is what I did. I can only use victory after victory to change other people's prejudice. If there are still people who slander me after I show my unquestionable strength, then I don't care. I can't expect everyone to like me and not hate me. There will always be a small group of people who are twisted for various reasons. Yen Zheka bit her teeth and asked worriedly, will you be under a lot of pressure like this? Using victory after victory to change other people's prejudice? Is he thinking about breaking through 2 levels in a row tomorrow? That will be a lot of psychological pressure. Lu Cheng was stunned at first. Then he laughed and said, Yen Zheka, are you infected by me? Have you become stupid? When I said victory after victory, I didn't just mean this youth tournament. In a martial arts competition, when your strength is about the same or a little weaker than your opponent, there is no such thing as a 100% chance of winning. The Dragon King has lost, the Warrior Sage has lost, and now all famous masters have lost. What I mean is, as long as I keep pushing forward, even if I lose tomorrow, I will win more and more in the future. As for the former, I believe I can do it. After saying that, he took a deep breath of the girl's fragrance. Humph, you also know that your stupidity is contagious. Yen Zheka smiled and said. She was relieved and broke free from Lu Cheng's arms. She sat up straight and said, I should go downstairs. Sister Jingjing and the others are waiting for me in the car. Looking at a beauty under the light, Lu Cheng was more and more charming. Thinking of his previous expectation, he swallowed and suggested, Yen Zheka, why don't you let Sister Jingjing and the others go first and you sleep here tonight? Yen Zheka was stunned, and her cheeks reddened at a speed visible to the naked eye. She stammered, You have tomorrow. Harmonious beast passing by. The phone call was from Gu Shuang. Yen Zheka calmed down before answering. What's wrong? You took so long to answer. Gu Shuang laughed, which made Yen Zheka blush. She didn't dare to answer. I was afraid that we would wait in vain, so I wanted to call first to confirm. We can't sleep in the car, right? I didn't disturb you, did I? What are you thinking about? I'll come down right away. Yen Zheka said angrily. Lu Cheng covered his face helplessly. Miss Gu Shuang, why didn't you call me a minute later? Yen Zheka glanced at him with a little bit of brilliance hidden in her eyes. She hummed. I'll go first. You have a competition tomorrow. While speaking, she looked to the side shyly and jumped off the bed. She tidied her clothes and flashed to the door. Lu Cheng sighed, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He stood up and bent down to send the girl to the door. Yen Zheka accidentally saw him and said shyly, Hello, big pervert. Bye, big pervert. Good night. Lu Cheng stepped forward, hugged her, and kissed her gently on the forehead. Yen Zheka opened her eyes and turned to look to the side. Good night. Then she turned around and ran to the elevator, as if she didn't want to leave if she didn't. She was so emotional today that she almost lost control. After the competition, Zhang Zhutong got into the car and sat in the back seat. He ignored his female companion and closed his eyes, thinking about the 2 competitions between Lu Cheng and Meng Jeffing, and Han Jifei and Qiu Shan. The car sped across the street. Instead of going to his villa, they came to a 29-story building. 4 big words were embellished with lights at the top. Haiyuan Building. Zhang Zhutong took a deep breath and led his female companion into the building through the side door. They took the elevator to the 11th floor and saw the sign at the door, Shenhua Club. You're here. A man in a white coat greeted them with a smile. It was almost 10 o'clock. The first floor was empty and quiet. There were only a few of them here. I need to recover from the 2 competitions tomorrow. Zhang Zhutong smiled. The man in the white coat laughed. You've tried the effect of the ultra-low temperature cold therapy system. With acupuncture and pills, you'll be able to get rid of most of your fatigue and recover to your peak condition. As they talked, they passed through several decorations and entered a sci-fi room. In front of them was a room that looked like a space capsule. The ultra-low temperature cold therapy system used liquid nitrogen to create an environment between -110 and 140 degrees Celsius. When the human body was strongly stimulated by cold for a short period of time, its stress protection mechanism would be activated. It would control the secretion of relevant hormones and instantly increase the strength of blood circulation to protect the organs and tissues and maintain the body temperature. This would remove impurities and reduce the production of metabolites. In other words, it would relieve muscle pain and accelerate the recovery of fatigue. After a short period of cold stimulation, the body would return to normal temperature. The muscles would be more relaxed, and the blood circulation would replenish the body's energy, making the body recover quickly. Zhang Zhutong took off his clothes and put on the device to prevent the low temperature from damaging his respiratory system. Then he opened the door and walked in. Soon, it could be seen through the observation window that Zhang Zhutong's naked body was surrounded by white smoke. The numbers on the LCD screen showed that the temperature inside was 130 degrees below zero. At the television station, another round of overtime had begun. The leader knocked on the table and asked, "Have you thought of the titles for the top 4? The young man with messy hair said tentatively, 6 Vajras and 8 Immortals. Why don't we have the 4 Heavenly Kings? 4 Heavenly Kings? Only titled experts could call him that, right? If a few young martial artists who haven't even reached the high-ranked dance stage are called that, it will only bring shame to them." The man who often read web novels scoffed at the suggestion. Young people are all favored by the heavens. I think we should call them the 4 favored ones. But it's not easy to match the 4 heavenly prides with nicknames. They can't be called so-and-so and 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 so. You don't have to be called so-and-so and 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 so-and-so. The leader nodded slightly. I'm quite satisfied with this. Let's decide on it for now. After the top 4 are done, we'll give them nicknames according to their rankings. There has to be a difference between high and low. Chapter 270. It was a hot summer at the beginning of August. The air was humid and hot, as if he was in a sauna. Lu Cheng sat on the edge of the bed. His mind was wandering and his passion was still there. He wanted to take a cold shower to calm himself down, but considering the effect of the cold wind, he had to give up. But in order to be in the best condition for tomorrow's game, he couldn't do anything else. He laughed and shook his head. He picked up his phone and sent a message to Yen Zhaka with a pitiful expression. I don't dare to turn on the air conditioner or take a cold shower. I can only calm down and cool down naturally. When the elevator went down, Yen Zhaka seemed to be able to feel the heat of his touch on her waist and abdomen. She spat and pursed her lips. She took out a mirror from her bag and looked at her face. Her cheeks were red, her lips were pink and moist, and her eyes were full of shyness. She knew he was up to no good. Perverted Cheng. She cursed silently. After getting out of the elevator, she stayed in the lobby. She didn't dare to go out and meet Gu Shuang and Xing Jingjing directly. After a few minutes, she took out the mirror and checked her face again. After confirming that her face was normal, she put the things into the bag with cute eyes and walked out of the hotel to Gu Shuang's car. Pulling open the door of the passenger seat, Yen Zhaka saw her best friend looking at her from head to toe before she even sat down. Gu Shuang snickered. I feel that the phone call just now ruined your good time. What good time? Yen Zhaka answered angrily. It was obviously a bad thing. I'm such a rational girl. How could I fool around with Chung when I know he has an important game tomorrow? I must be possessed. Yes, I must be infected by him. I don't really believe it. Gu Shuang laughed. With such a beauty beside him, and the excitement after winning a key game, I can't help it either. I don't believe a normal man like Chung can hold back. What can you hold back? Yen Zhaka didn't dare to continue the topic. She pursed her lips and looked forward. Hearing this, Gu Shuang stopped turning the car key and laughed. I was just talking to Sister Jingjing about this.
What? Yan Zheka looked at her blankly and then at Xing Jingjing, who was sitting in the back seat with a cold and innocent face.
I was talking about your good figure. Every time I see it, I'm jealous. I can't help but want it. You want to occupy it.
Gu Shuang's laughter echoed in the car. Look, my thighs are thicker than yours, my waist is fatter than yours, and my breasts aren't as perky as yours.
I really want to cry. At least you have big breasts, Xing Jingjing said faintly. That's true. Now that you mention it, my confidence is back. Gu Shuang raised her head and started the car. Female hooligan, it's time for you to lose weight. Yan Zheka laughed and scolded her. She took out her phone and saw Lu Cheng's message. A calm heart will naturally cool down. The girl blushed and replied in annoyance. You scoundrel! Perverted orange! Lu Cheng pretended to turn pale with fright and said, I'm innocent. I mean it's hot. There's no air conditioning. The room is so hot. Humph! Isn't someone known as a walking air conditioner? Why would he be afraid of heat? Yan Zheka said with a, there is only one truth expression. Bad guy, he must be talking about that matter. I'm worried that this will also cause the outbreak of the cold wind force. Lu Cheng tried to explain. Oh, Yan Zheka said angrily. Then you can't turn on the air conditioner or use the power of frost to lower the temperature. And you want me to sleep here? Do you want me to die from the heat? Do you want me to stay with you and be cool with a calm heart? I was wrong. Lu Cheng was confused at first, but then he couldn't help laughing. Damn it, I was tricked by Ku again. Yan Zheka raised the corner of her mouth and showed her dimples. She felt fluffy and light. Tsk tisk. Gu Shuang, who was driving, glanced at her. Lu Cheng finally calmed down after laughing and chatting for a while. He walked to the window and opened it halfway. Breathing in the dry and hot night air, he dialed his master's number. Hey, brat, you still remember that you have a master? Geezer sure couldn't help but mock him. No such thing. I just don't want to trouble you with small things. Lu Cheng laughed and said, Master, I'm in the dance stage now. I'm participating in the Youth Fighter Championship of our province and made it to the semi-finals. Tomorrow is the semi-finals. He showed off his achievements during this time, hoping to see his master surprised. No, pleasantly surprised reaction. Not bad. Your progress is not bad. It's a little faster than what I expected. Geezer sure had already digested this matter. He answered calmly and emphasized the word, a little. As for the Youth Fighter Championship, do you think I care about such a low-level thing? Of course, it's not bad to make it to the semi-finals. You didn't embarrass me. Speaking of this, he laughed and said, Did you mix the knowledge of cultivation into your dance stage this time? Yes, I did. I was just about to ask you, Lu Cheng answered frankly. Geezer sure laughed and said, Let me guess. Did you get the inspiration from Longhu Immortal's Tai Chi formation of Tai Chi with ice and fire? Did you mix this into your force concentration? Ah, Master, how did you know? Lu Cheng was surprised. It was as if he had seen it with his own eyes. No, even if he had seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have discovered such an essential thing. Geezer sure laughed comfortably. I can guess it with my toes. Without other references, this is the only thing you can do. What's your plan for your next training? What's your plan? He didn't dare to say too much for fear of making a fool of himself. I'm thinking of first adapting to the state of dance stage. Then I'll break down the basics and re-examine and master them again. When school reopens, I'll ask for your protection so that I can improve my ice and fire supernatural abilities. Lu Cheng explained his plan. Not bad. You're not impatient and don't get carried away. You can keep your composure. Geezer sure praised. Many people focus on better training methods and higher martial arts after they enter the dance stage. They completely forget about strengthening the foundation and understanding the process of the body breaking through the limit step by step. This is very useful for the internal root pulp training in the future. Don't worry. When school starts, I'll teach you the corresponding things for the dance stage. Yes, Master. Lu Cheng answered happily. After hanging up the phone, he looked at the time and lay down in bed. He said good night to Yan Zheka, concealed his spirit in qi, and fell into a deep sleep. The next day, Lu Cheng woke up on time. He felt refreshed and didn't catch a cold. During the morning exercise, he continued to integrate the martial arts he had learned into the cultivation of the dance stage, focusing on the 24 blizzard strikes. For the rest of the day, Yan Zheka was worried that Lu Cheng would lose his mind during the intimate interaction, so she firmly refused to come to the hotel for a discussion. Instead, they used video chat. Therefore, Lu Cheng could only concentrate on studying the videos of the recent matches of Zhang Zhutong, Han Zhifei, and Lu Xuanjun. He thought about his fighting methods and stood up from time to practice. In the room full of obstacles, no matter how he moved forward or backward, punched or kicked, he didn't trip. Yan Zheka rested her chin on one hand, her beautiful eyes rippling. In the evening, Lu Cheng closed the computer, took a shower, and changed his clothes. He looked down at the martial arts stadium not far away again and saw people coming and going. After fastening the last button, he turned around and walked to the door. This was the last night of the youth tournament. It was a familiar process. The only difference was that there were fewer and fewer seats for the contestants. At 7:30 p.m., after the opening song and dance and the leader's speech, the ceremony finally came to the drawing of lots. This was the last drawing of lots. The chairman of the Martial Artist Association of Xing Province, Yin Huaming, put his hand into the box, took out a small ball, and read the name on it. Number 1 seed. Zhang Zhutong. Cheers erupted from the stands, raising the atmosphere. Following that, they quietened down again, holding their breaths, waiting for the birth of the first battle. Outside the live broadcast room of Xing Province Satellite TV, a woman with half-rimmed glasses reported to the leader. The ratings broke. They broke the previous record. The leader was excited, but on the surface, he just smiled. Good job. Everyone did well. First, it was the release of the news. Then they bought the headlines on Weibo. It would be a problem if the ratings didn't improve. Yanling. Yi Yaoting finished the extra practice in the evening. After returning home, she took a shower, lay on the bed, and habitually browsed Weibo. After watching the match between Zhou Zhongquan, Lu Cheng, and Lin Ke, she was deeply shocked and quickly returned home. With the experience of the knockout match in Yanling, she overcame the influence of her natural strength and finally understood the meaning of withdrawing 3 days ago. After a few more months of hard work, I will be a mighty of the dance stage, she thought happily. Suddenly, she saw a post on Weibo with a familiar name. Who is the number 1 in Xing Province? The Youth Warrior Championship of Xing Province is in full swing and has reached its climax. Tonight, the final winner will be decided. Zhang Zhutong, Han Zhifei, Lu Cheng, Lu Xuanjun. Who will be the top young warrior in Xing Province? Lu Cheng? Number 1 in Xing Province? Yi Yaoting clicked on the post and saw the photo. She was sure it was the Lu Cheng she knew. His introduction said, Professional 8th Pin Dan Stage. Professional 8th Pin Dan Stage? Yi Yaoting looked at herself blankly. This guy is not human. Under more attention, Yin Huaming pulled out the second ball. He glanced at it and chuckled. That's right. Number 18, Lu Cheng. The first match of the semi-finals. Number 1 seed Zhang Zhutong versus number 18 Lu Cheng. Zhang Zhutong. Lu Cheng closed his eyes. He was not surprised or disappointed. There were only 3 opponents left. It was normal for him to draw anyone. Zhang Zhutong, born in a martial arts club, practiced the wind and fire tribulation and mastered the furnace force. He was currently a member of Gao Fan's Divine Fire Club and participated in the North-South Regional Tournament. He reached 9th pin at 18, 8th pin at 20, and 7th pin at 22. 3 years ago, he entered the top 8 of the last youth tournament as soon as he reached 8th pin. However, he lost to the final champion, Gao Zhan, who was of 6th pin. His furnace force was not very powerful and did little to burden his body. It could be used as a normal move. However, it could be stacked and triggered gradually. It was very scary. In other words, the longer he fought with Zhang Zhutong, the more dangerous it would be. Information about the number 1 seed flashed through Lu Cheng's mind. He quickly formed an intuitive impression of him. Zhang Zhutong deserved to be the number 1 seed. Chapter 271. Number 1 seed? Is he the most powerful one? Lu Cheng's mother, Xiaofan, asked without confidence. Thanks to the temporary silence of the audience, Jiang Fei and the others heard the question. Although they didn't want to admit it, they nodded honestly. Theoretically, yes. Then isn't Cheng in danger? Xiaofan hissed. As a cultured and caring father, Lu Jisheng had learned a lot about the seeded players. Hearing this, he pulled his wife and said, "Why are you so nervous? Cheng has achieved his goal of being in the top 4. It doesn't matter if he loses. In the words of the TV commentator, he just needs to enjoy the competition and fight to the best of his ability. The number 1 seed is the number 1 seed." He didn't like to surf the internet, so he didn't know about the previous hype and the argument that lasted until today. What's wrong with me caring about my son? If you don't care about winning, why are you here? Xiaofan retorted stubbornly. Then she said thoughtfully, "The top 4 will get 200,000 yuan in prize money." That's enough, that's enough. Jiang Fei and Qiu Hailin looked at each other and saw the worry in each other's eyes. If Cheng lost to Zhang Zhutong, the internet would slander him. And losing to Zhang Zhutong was highly probable. These days, as the number 1 seed, Zhang Zhutong had been in the limelight. His competition had attracted the most attention. Tao Xiaofei and Chao Lele had watched it live since they had nothing else to do. They were impressed by this powerful figure who was known as the number 1 young martial artist in Xing province. I didn't expect brother Lu Cheng to be his opponent. Qi Yunfei murmured. She recalled what had happened before. Brother Lu Cheng and Zhang Zhutong had bumped into each other at the side door of the Ming-Chi International Hotel where she was staying. However, at that time, brother Lu Cheng had no one paying attention to him. He hadn't been invited to the youth tournament banquet and hadn't even caught brother Lu Cheng's eye. Zhang Zhutong, on the other hand, was the focus of the crowd. He was the favorite to win the tournament and was surrounded by many fans. Who would have thought that the two of them, who were in opposite situations, would meet in the semi-finals? Brother Lu Cheng will win. Qi Yunfei, Chen Xiaoxiao, and Ma Shi prayed silently. In the living room of the Lu family, Lu Yanwei saw the result of the draw and subconsciously looked at his grandfather, afraid that he would call his friends and family again. This is not a good chance to show off. He is likely to lose this competition. See? I told you not to call old Xian and the others. Lu Jiqiang straightened his back and reprimanded his wife. Although I haven't studied much, I know that the number 1 seed is much stronger than the number 5 or 6 seed. Wang Lili glared at him but didn't say anything. Just then, the phone rang and old master Lu Debong picked it up. Lu Debong, your grandson is in danger. My boss says that guy is very strong. He's the strongest young man in our province. A strong voice came from the other end of the phone. Lu Debong guffawed. He's already in the top 4 of the entire province's young generation. Our family is very satisfied. So what if it's dangerous? We don't expect him to be the champion. There's only one champion, and it depends on luck and blessings. Phone calls came in one after another. Old Master and Old Madam replied to them one by one. They looked a little tired. After all, they were not as happy as when they were showing off. In Lu Cheng's high school classmate group chat. Damn it! Why did he get Zhang Zhutong? I was expecting Cheng to get Lu Xuanjin and enter the finals. He could wear out the other guy with his stamina. Tao Xiaofei sent an emoji of, "I'm so angry." As a bargoer, he had dabbled in smoking, drinking, and gambling. After entering the top 16, he bet 10,000 yuan that Lu Cheng would win the championship. If he had known that he would get Zhang Zhutong, he would have used the money to check Gaofan's nightclub. Isn't it normal to get Zhang Zhutong or Han Jifei? It's even better if he doesn't get one of them. Du Liu replied with an emoji of a panda scratching its head. I know. I'm just venting. Tao Xiaofei said with an emoji of spreading his hands. Other classmates appeared one after another and suggested that Big Dog should send red packets to cheer for Lu Cheng. Little son, what do you think of this match? Wei Renjia asked Sun Yixing, Wu Qinggui, and Chu Weikai while touching the bags under his eyes. Sun Yixing thought for a while and answered, Anyway, Zhang Zhutong is recognized as the number 1 martial artist in the province under the age of 26. Even Han Zhifei admits this. He just thinks that he has a 60 to 40 chance of winning against Zhang Zhutong. He showed off his English. After all, he had taken cultural courses in the martial arts school. If Lu Cheng can beat Zhang Zhutong, he will be recognized as the #1 fighter in the province, regardless of whether he can win the other one in the finals. He is very strong, but I think he is still a year or so away from that position. Sun Yixing expressed his opinion. To accommodate the broadcast, the semi-finals and the finals were arranged very tightly with only an hour and a half of rest. Physical strength, the strength of the semi-final opponent, and the intensity of the match would all affect the final match. The loser was not necessarily weak, and the winner was not necessarily strong. Our Sir Lu doesn't fight for the #1 position. He's the super one. Wu Ting interrupted, which made Chu Weikai and Wei Renjie laugh. Wu Ting finished muttering and looked at Zhang Qiufan, Yao Ruiwei, and the others who were looking serious. She frowned and frowned. Sir Lu has met the devil in this match. Ha ha ha, look, the hypocrite who made it to the top 4 by cheating is about to show his true colors. Yan Shaoling punched the bed while reading the comments on the forum. So angry. She wanted to argue with the haters, but she didn't have the confidence to do so. She could only look at the screen and ask for the support of the guest grandpa. Professor Yu Hong, can you give us an analysis of the probability of winning this match? Asked the host. Yu Hong smiled and answered, let's put it this way. Not counting his physical strength and speed, but his ability to perform several consecutive bursts, his mastery of force, and his simplified physical invulnerability moves, Lu Cheng is a real professional 7th pin fighter of the dance stage. He could even be considered a strong professional 7th pin fighter. But if we take the previous aspects into account, he still lacks the foundation and can barely be regarded as a weak professional 7th pin fighter. Besides, he has only been in the dance stage for a few days, and it's said that he has only mastered withdraw for less than 2 months. In terms of experience and skills, he is far behind Zhang Zhutong. And Zhang Zhutong has completed 7 consecutive bursts and mastered furnace force. But he doesn't have the simplified physical invulnerability moves. So, I think the odds are 7 to 3. Zhang Zhutong is 7 to Lu Cheng's 3. It's not impossible for him to win, and he has created miracles many times. Hearing the guest grandpa's analysis, Yan Shaoling put on a long face and prayed silently. Yuanshi Tianzuan, Jade Emperor, Queen Mother, Buddha, and God, Amen. Let Lu Cheng defeat his opponent. #1 seed? Zhang Zhutong? I know this one. He's really good. Gu Shuang clapped her hands excitedly. Feeling 4 pairs of eyes on her, she suddenly realized something. She smiled guiltily and said, Ku, your man is better. Yan Zhaka pursed her lips and stared at Lu Cheng, who was sitting in the guest seat. She glanced at her phone, stood up suddenly, and walked to the other side of the aisle. Ku, where are you going? Gu Shuang asked in surprise. Washroom, Yan Zhaka answered simply. Why didn't you call me? Gu Shuang was used to going to the washroom with her girlfriends. You just went there with Sister Jingjing. Yan Zhaka didn't turn her head. Haha, I almost forgot. Gu Shuang flipped her hair. The match was about to start, and the audience had finished their business. The new round had not started yet, so the washroom was deserted. In the past, there would be a long line in the women's washroom, but now it was quiet. This was exactly the environment Yan Zhaka needed. She looked in the mirror, picked up her phone, and bit her lower lip with her white teeth. She plucked up her courage and said in a normal voice, Dear, do your best. She finally shouted out these words. Her pretty face was blushing, and her eyes were shining. She was so shy. Dear Cheng. Dear, do your best. Lu Cheng didn't expect to hear this at this time, because he didn't have time to ask Coach Yen for it. His lips curled up, and a smile bloomed on his face. He listened to this sentence many times and carefully saved it. Ku, your cheer came so suddenly that I didn't feel it. I just listened to it 38 times. Lu Cheng expressed his excitement and joy in a humorous way. Humph, do your best. Yan Zhaka replied proudly. Yes, sir. Lu Cheng put down his phone with a big smile. He seized the last moment to adjust his mental and physical state. 5 minutes later, Yin Huaming, the chairman of the Martial Artist Association of Xing Province, stepped into the arena as the referee to show the importance of young fighters in the martial arts circle of Xing province. Round 1, Zhang Zhutong vs. Lu Cheng. His voice was neither loud nor soft, but it spread far and wide, igniting the audience's cheers. Amidst the cheers and boos, Lu Cheng walked towards the ring along the path that was filled with light. Others may not believe it, but this is the first time I've fought in the semi-finals. Lu Cheng was the first to arrive at the stone steps leading to glory. He saw Zhang Zhutong walking up the stairs slowly and proudly, just like that night. He was wearing a green and red martial arts suit with wind patterns on it. He had a handsome figure and deep eyes. Talk time starts now. The referee, Yin Huaming, didn't waste any time. Zhang Zhutong smiled and said, "Lu Cheng, have you been online recently? People everywhere are saying that you made it to the top 4 because of your unorthodox moves. Do you think Meng Jiefeng is not strong enough?" Lu Cheng didn't answer directly, in case he fell into a trap and affected his mood and condition. His rhetorical question was quite sharp. Meng Jiefeng and Zhang Zhutong were both mainstays in the martial arts circle of Xiaofan, but Meng Jiefeng was more of a police officer. If Zhang Zhutong didn't think Meng Jiefeng was strong enough and that Lu Cheng, who had defeated him, wasn't qualified to be in the top 4, then their relationship in the future would be very interesting. What was said during the talk time might not be false. Otherwise, who would be provoked? No, I'm just a little emotional. In this challenge tournament, strength is important, but so is luck. Zhang Zhutong said leisurely, "In the last youth tournament, I was full of confidence. I thought I had the strength to make it to the top 4 even though I had just entered the dance stage. Unfortunately, I met Captain Gao in advance and stopped in the top 8. His eyes suddenly became terrifyingly sharp. "Let me see if you're qualified to be in the top 4. In an instant, his muscles bulged and his fighting spirit burst out. A slight wind blew around him. Chapter 272. In the live broadcast room of Xing Province TV station, the host seized the last chance to ask, "Mr. Yu Hong, I think you've missed a very important point. You never mentioned Lu Cheng's physical talent. After so many days of fighting in the youth tournament, everyone is tired except Lu Cheng. I think he'll have an advantage in this aspect in the semi-finals. Why didn't you mention it when you analyzed the possibility of him winning against Zhang Zhutong?" Yu Hong smiled and said, "If it's just one match, Zhang Zhutong won't have a big problem in terms of physical strength. Maybe you don't know, but the Divine Fire Club bought a new ultra-low temperature cold treatment system last year. It stimulates the human body with extremely low temperatures between -110 and 150 degrees Celsius to help recover from fatigue and heal injuries. How do you explain the effect? It's expensive, but you get what you pay for. This system has been popularized in top professional competitions abroad. It's also useful for physical invulnerability mighty ones, but the temperature will be lower." Zhang Zhutong is not an arrogant person who has lost his mind. It is impossible that he didn't use it last night. With the help of acupuncture and elixirs, his current fatigue level is very low. It is not much worse than when he was at his peak. At most, it is 10 or 9. The host sighed with emotion. The advancement of science and technology has indeed added many variables to martial arts. No wonder Mr. Yu Hong thinks that Zhang Zhutong has more than a 70% chance of winning. This match is actually very interesting. According to Mr. Yu Hong, as long as Lu Cheng can build up his foundation, he will have a great chance to get the certificate of professional 7th pin in a year or even half a year. At that time, he will only be 20 years old, while Zhang Zhutong will become a 7th pin fighter at 22 years old. This can be seen as a natural replacement of the young fighters in our province. Let's wait and see whether the younger generation will really push the older generation away, or the older generation will successfully stop the younger generation and suppress the younger generation for a year. Listening to the commentator's analysis, some people were happy while others were sad. In the arena, Lu Cheng didn't feel wronged or angry in the face of Zhang Zhutong's words. After talking with Yan Zhaka last night, he was prepared for this. He only replied calmly, "I don't need to be judged by others. I hope you'll still have the courage and confidence to say what you just said in 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years." On the one hand, he showed his confidence in martial arts, which wouldn't be shaken by the results of 1 or 2 martial arts competitions. On the other hand, he was subtly comparing the growth of the two. I was an ordinary person without martial arts last year. In January, I was a strong amateur first pin. At the end of April, I was a professional 9th pin fighter. At the beginning of August, I reached Dan stage and automatically reached 8th pin. If there are no accidents, I'll get a 7th pin certificate by next April. In the year after next April, I have a chance of reaching 6th pin. What about you? With your current potential, will you be at the same level as me when the time comes? Or is there a gap? Do you still have the courage and confidence to say that you'll judge my qualifications? Zhang Zhutong was not exaggerating. He was merely rationally and objectively pointing out the situation they were in. However, the truth was the most hurtful. Even though Zhang Zhutong was a seasoned fighter who had fought in countless challenge tournaments and had tried countless times to provoke each other, he could not help but breathe heavily. His expression changed slightly, and his tone stiffened. Who can predict what will happen in the future? At least for now, I can suppress you and suppress your growth. Lu Cheng smiled and shook his head. He deliberately didn't say anything and showed a calm attitude to further provoke him. After so many challenge tournaments, I've gradually gotten rid of the awkwardness and become a person who can make use of the conversation time. He lowered his eyes. The lake in his heart turned to ice, reflecting the thoughts that flashed through his mind. Zhang Zhutong's clenched fist not only hit cotton, but also got stabbed in the back. He couldn't find a chance to fight back. His momentum was weakened for a moment. How old is this guy? How can he have such a good mentality? He was about to push his momentum up again to influence his opponent's mind and spirit when he saw the referee, Yin Huaming, raise his right arm and swing it down. Begin. The first semi-final of the 3rd Youth Fighter Championship of Xing Province began. Without any hesitation, Zhang Zhutong straightened his back and strode towards his opponent. His speed increased from slow to fast, as if a heavy tank had finally gained momentum. A gust of wind blew past him, making Lu Cheng squint his eyes. Tribulation of wind and fire steps. At the last step, Zhang Zhutong's body tightened and he suddenly stepped forward. In the loud sound of the airflow exploding, he closed in on Lu Cheng. His left hand was in front of his chest, and his right arm was like an iron rod. He contracted, expanded, and pierced right between Lu Cheng's chest and abdomen. He gradually gathered his momentum and gave me time to prepare for severe warning. How dare he attack me head-on? Lu Cheng's heart skipped a beat. He felt that something was wrong. Lu Cheng could take the risk, but Zhang Zhutong couldn't. Once he was hit by severe warning, even with his professional 7th pin Dan stage physique, he would stiffen up. Stiffening up meant a lot for an opponent with a similar strength level. It was almost certain that he would win. Lu Cheng didn't compete with his opponent in body movement or flaming wind steps. Instead, he pushed his feet inward, bulged his thigh muscles, and twisted his back. He lowered his shoulder and threw a blast punch that tore through the wind to block his opponent's attack. Zhang Zhutong's wrist suddenly flicked when they were about to collide. His fist moved away like a white cloud in the wind, circling to Lu Cheng's side. He opened his fingers and grabbed Lu Cheng's forearm. Wind and fire tribulation. Wind blows clouds. So what if you have a simplified physical invulnerability move? I won't collide with you. I'll just grab your Achilles heel. Lu Cheng was prepared for this. He raised his shoulder and exploded the force. His arm softened and turned into a long whip. He avoided the grab and twisted it in the opposite direction. Then, he leaned forward and tightened his muscles, whipping at his opponent's wrist joint. Zhang Zhutong suddenly withdrew his qi and blood. He lowered his body and turned into a human body Big Dan. Then he lifted his left foot and stomped hard on the ground. Bam! He channeled all the explosive power of the Dan stage into the ring. As he stomped and flipped, the entire ring clearly shook a few times. Cracks started to spread rapidly from his feet to the surrounding green bricks. It was ferocious and thick, making one's scalp go numb just by looking at it. A stomp was like an earthquake. This was the power of a professional 7th pin Dan stage. Zhang Zhutong timed his stomp perfectly. It happened when Lu Cheng's center of gravity was leaning forward. Lu Cheng felt his feet undulate and he was about to fall. Not good. Lu Cheng adjusted his muscles and forced himself to regain his center of gravity. At this moment, Zhang Zhutong rebounded by stamping his feet and moved forward like a gust of wind. He completely bypassed Lu Cheng's defensive circle and arrived at Lu Cheng's side. His left arm, which had been in front of his chest, swung out like a big spear, aiming for Lu Cheng's throat. It was fast and fierce, like a prairie fire. Wind and fire tribulation. Fire with wind to kill with one move. No one expected Zhang Zhutong to not seek a protracted fight to show the power of the furnace force. Instead, he took the initiative to create an opportunity from the beginning and launched a series of killer moves. In this series of attacks, his experience, skills, and timing as a professional 7th pin in the dance stage were fully displayed. At such a close distance and facing such a fire, even a force concentration was too late, let alone a dodge. If Lu Cheng's mind was affected during the conversation and his momentum was suppressed, his judgment would be delayed for a split second and he would lose on the spot. Fortunately, his heart was as cold as ice and he made a decision in a split second.
He lowered his body and shrunk his head, narrowly avoiding the attack aimed at his throat in a half-sitting position.
However, how could Zhang Zhutong's killing move be so simple? As soon as his left arm missed its target, he bulged his abdomen muscles and pulled his fascia, spine, and shoulders. He leaned his body to one side and dragged his arm to change the direction of his attack. Then, he hammered downwards. This drag and punch fully demonstrated the smoothness and transparency of his force. Lu Cheng didn't have time to think. Relying on his experience and awareness, he suddenly leaned back and made the iron bridge that he was used to. Unlike the past, his right foot sunk into the bricks to maintain his balance. His left thigh tightened, and with a snap, he whipped his leg between his opponent's legs when the distance between them was extremely close. Zhang Zhutong didn't panic. He lowered his body halfway and grabbed Lu Cheng's thigh with his right hand. The joints and fascia of his left arm made a strange noise. With a short change, he exerted the second-fold force and continued to punch downwards towards Lu Cheng's chest. Lu Cheng's right foot dug deeper into the bricks. He barely managed to raise his hands to block the punch. Bam! When he blocked the punch, his opponent's right hand grabbed his thigh. But all of a sudden, Zhang Zhutong felt that there was no feeling of flesh and blood. His opponent's muscles wriggled and combined perfectly with force concentration, borrowing his strength and integrating it with his qi, blood, force, and spirit into a single point. Borrowing? Qiu Lin's Wisdom King guards the temple? Just as the thought flashed through his mind, Zhang Zhutong sensed a burst of strength in his opponent's dantian. The muscles and skin on his thigh bulged and bounced off his right claw. This young man has a lot of ideas. Seeing this, the guest commentator, Yu Hong, couldn't help but praise him. He imitated Qiu Lin's Wisdom King guards the temple technique. Most professional 8th pin dance stage fighters couldn't reach the level of Wisdom King guards. And most professional 7th pin dance stage fighters couldn't either. Lu Cheng did a carp flip and straightened his leg to regain his stance. He blocked his opponent's left arm and turned his body sideways with the explosive momentum of dance stage to hit him with his elbow. This was the result of his hard work in the past few days. Using Qiu Lin's Wisdom King guards the temple as a reference, he used the Wisdom King guards the temple technique as the core and combined the borrowing force of 24 blizzard strikes with force concentration to push this move to the level of dance stage. Come on, I'll show you the real howling blizzard. The more they fought, the fiercer and faster the blizzard became. Chapter 273. The scene of Zhang Zhutong stamping his feet like an earthquake stunned Qi Yunfei, Chao Lei, and the other spectators who rarely came into contact with martial arts. It also made Yan Zheka nervous. She unconsciously covered her mouth and held her breath for Zhang Zhutong's series of killer moves and her boyfriend's dodging at the edge of danger. When Lu Cheng finally found an opportunity to turn the tables with the 24 blizzard strikes imitating the Wisdom King guards the temple, she breathed a sigh of relief. She could hear the thumping sound in her chest. No wonder he's a famous 7th pin mighty one. This is going to be a tough battle. Come on, Cheng. Coupled with the explosive force of the dance stage, Lu Cheng's elbow hit the air with a sharp sound. Zhang Zhutong's hair stood on end and his spirit exploded. At this moment, the distance between them was very close. Zhang Zhutong resisted the subconscious thought of retreating and calmly made an accurate judgment. He lowered his back and quickly condensed the human body Big Dan in his lower abdomen. His arms swelled as the power gushed out. He lifted them up and put them in front of him. In all kinds of martial arts classics, there was a saying that a fist strike was like a tiger's, while an elbow strike was like a dragon's. The former was made up of small bones, while the latter was a solid whole. The difference in strength was self-evident. Facing Lu Cheng's Dan stage elbow strike, Zhang Zhutong didn't dare to block it with one hand, nor did he dare to face it head-on. He raised his left hand and pushed his right hand to the side. With the combined force of his two palms, he managed to block the elbow strike and push it away from him to avoid the continuous attacks of the throwing body punch. It was strange. With Zhang Zhutong's physique and the fact that he was stronger than Lu Cheng in the Dan stage, even if he had lost the initiative, they should have been evenly matched. However, Zhang Zhutong's body swayed and he took a step back, putting some distance between them. Once Lu Cheng's 24 blizzard strikes started, it was continuous. Especially when he was still using force concentration, the strength of his whole body could be integrated into one. He didn't need to exert strength from his feet, but only the bulging muscles of his upper body could produce a strike with all the strength of his whole body. This made his 24 blizzard strikes in this state could be like Zhou Zhengquan's continuous fly-fall punch, continuous and whistling without pause. His left elbow had just been blocked. His muscles wriggled to borrow strength and combined it with his qi, blood, and spirit into a big Dan. Boom! The big Dan exploded and the volcano erupted. Lu Cheng took advantage of the rebound and turned to the right. He lifted his waist and his right arm swelled half a circle, turning into a terrifying iron whip. He took advantage of the momentum and swung it at the enemy behind him, aiming for his neck. The whip parted the air and stirred up a gust of wind on both sides. It stimulated Zhang Zhutong's skin and made his pores close. Bone-chilling double explosion. Zhang Zhutong didn't dare to slack off. He did a second force concentration in a row. The muscles on his right hand stood out. The blood vessels and veins on the back of his hand were visible. Pah! He exerted strength with his shoulders, swung his elbows, and swung his forearms. Like a nunchaku, he struck Lu Cheng's single whip horizontally. Bang! The sound was deafening and the airflow was roaring. Lu Cheng's body swayed forward, but his qi and blood quickly flowed back, pulling part of Zhang Zhutong's force back to his dantian. He turned to the right again, diagonally facing the enemy. He bounced his waist and gave a fierce side kick. It was so fast that it was as if there was no gap between the moves. Brutal blizzard triple explosion. He had a clear understanding of the difference in strength between himself and the enemy. He knew that Zhang Zhutong wasn't Meng Jiefeng. If he fell into a passive position again, he would lose the opportunity to counterattack and be defeated by continuous attacks. If he wanted to win, he had to do the same. He couldn't give Zhang Zhutong a chance to catch his breath. He had to crush his enemy with the momentum of the mega avalanche. Zhang Zhutong first took a step back, then sat down firmly with his Dan. He stopped swaying and swelled his thighs. He didn't show any sign of weakness. He lashed out a gust of wind and met Lu Cheng's side kick. Triple explosion versus triple explosion. Bam! Yin Huaming, the referee, felt a strong wind blowing in his face. He saw the two legs frozen in midair. Shards of shoes and trouser legs were drifting outward. After Lu Cheng's continuous borrowing of strength, the two of them were finally evenly matched. Lu Cheng lowered his waist and sat on the golden Luan throne. He withdrew his right leg in a strange way. He borrowed strength to steady himself. The sweat oozing out of his pores didn't drip down but stuck to his original position. His Dan gushed out. Lu Cheng's back muscles bulged and pushed up his clothes. He took a step forward, his thick left arm hanging down. His fist slanted upward toward his opponent's abdomen. This process was unbelievably fast. It was like a continuous snowstorm, giving Zhang Zhutong no chance to dodge at all. Heavy snow collapse. Quadruple explosion. Lu Cheng struck 4 times in a row with explosive power, each strike stronger than the one before. Lu Cheng's supporters felt their blood boil and their enthusiasm was boiling. They shouted "Good!" noisily. After withdrawing his leg, Zhang Zhutong took another step back, as if he was looking for something. But in the face of Lu Cheng's relentless attacks, he had no choice but to concentrate his Dan again. He gritted his teeth and launched the same quadruple explosion and the same seabed collapse with his left fist. Boom! It was as if a bomb had been set off. Waves of wind spread in all directions. Even the debris from the broken bricks was blown away.
This kind of fight and collision had exceeded the limits of the human body.
After the collision, Lu Qing borrowed strength again and condensed his human body Big Dan. He was going to launch the mighty snow collapse. At this moment, Zhang Zhutong, who had been at a disadvantage because of his continuous borrowing of force, bounced back and floated away with his body's momentum. From the first time Lu Chang used 24 blizzard strikes, which was an imitation of the Wisdom King guards the temple technique, with his rich combat experience and understanding of the enemy's fighting style, he was keenly aware that if he didn't escape in time, he would be caught in the brutal blizzard and fall into an extremely passive situation. But at that distance, he could hit Lu Cheng with a raise of his hand. If he blindly dodged or retreated, he would only be digging his own grave and admitting defeat. Therefore, he made the right decision to take the hit head-on. He blocked 4 attacks in a row and retreated a small step after each one, quietly increasing the distance between them. By now, this distance was enough for him to accomplish a lot of things. Seeing that Zhang Zhutong was trying to dodge, Lu Cheng's Dan Qi exploded and pounced forward, instantly wiping out the space between them. While he was swinging his fist at Zhang Zhutong used the wind and fire steps. With the wind blowing and clouds moving technique, Zhang Zhutong bounced his back and tapped his toes on the ground. His body was as light as a catkin and strangely floated to the side. His timing was perfect. Not only did he avoid the punch, but he also completely got rid of the suppression of 24 blizzard strikes. Seeing this, Yan Zhika sighed, her voice full of regret. Her expectation had been accumulating bit by bit. She had almost seen the dawn of victory. However, this was a professional 7th pin in the dance stage, the top seed of this competition. He lived up to his reputation. After missing the 5 consecutive blows, Lu Cheng didn't continue blindly. It was good to not give Zhang Zhutong a chance to turn around with the brutal blizzard. But if he clung to Zhang Zhutong, he would be digging his own grave. In actual combat, he had to constantly adjust his strategy according to the situation. It's not that simple. As this thought flashed through his mind, Zhang Zhutong had already dodged to the side. His eyes were covered with a faint layer of red. He swung his right arm back and punched quickly. Lu Cheng did not mix the Thunder Roar Zen into the 24 blizzard strikes in order to make the attacks more compact. But this time, he was able to free up his hands. He visualized a thundercloud in his mind, tightened the muscles of his arms and hammered back to block the attack. No matter what kind of attack his opponent made, he would counter with a Thunder Roar Zen. At his current level, his muscles and tendons were much tighter than before. Once his strength exploded, the impact produced could be said to be terrifying. Bam! Zhang Zhutong jumped and retracted his arm. Enduring the rolling qi and blood, he moved first. Lu Cheng felt the tendons and veins in his forearm burning, which was quite uncomfortable. Furnace force. Zhang Zhutong circled to Lu Cheng's side. With bloodshot eyes, he punched Lu Cheng's spine. Lu Cheng wasn't afraid. He leaned to one side and tightened his right arm muscles to block the punch like a whip. Come on. Let's see if you can take more Thunder Roar Zen or I can take more Furnace Force. Bang, 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 bang. Zhang Zhutong resumed his usual fighting style. He kept circling Lu Cheng and attacking him with one Furnace Force after another. Every time Lu Cheng tried to use force concentration, Zhang Zhutong sensed it in time and took the initiative to retreat, dodging the attack with the momentum of wind-blowing clouds. Lu Cheng had no choice but to fight back with Thunder Roar Zen and Frost Force. The burning heat and discomfort accumulated in his body were increasing. Yan Zhaka was worried again because this was Zhang Zhutong's field of expertise. If this continued, he could completely detonate the Furnace Force in Lu Cheng's body and win easily. She wondered if Cheng's trick would work. Zhang Zhutong felt it was time for him to fight to his heart's content. He first neutralized the shock with the internal training method, and then found another opportunity to launch the last Furnace Force to ignite the accumulated force in Lu Cheng's body. At this moment, Lu Cheng visualized the scene of the falling red sun crashing into the frozen river. Similarly, he wasn't going to use severe warning. He was going to imitate it and create a collision between the supernatural abilities of ice and fire to disperse the remaining force in his body. Boom! The cold current and the fire current collided and a storm swept out, passing through many meridians and rushing to Lu Cheng's hand. During this process, bit by bit, the accumulated furnace energy was absorbed into the storm, becoming a part of it. Bam! Their fists collided. Zhang Zhutong was surprised to feel waves of coldness and heat, but he also felt the familiar feeling of a furnace. At the same time, his pupils shrank when he found that his opponent didn't show any signs of being detonated. Lu Cheng can neutralize the effect of the furnace force? He can even use 24 blizzard strikes to launch force concentration and suppress me continuously. And his physical strength is limitless. How can I fight like this? While Zhang Zhutong was shaken, Lu Cheng didn't feel good either. His meridians felt like they were being cut by knives and his spirit began to feel tired. But he pretended to be fine. His willpower surged and he stretched his body shouting, "Come on! Come on if you can!" His imposing manner and voice shook Zhang Zhutong's mind. Affected, Zhang Zhutong's reaction was a beat slower. Lu Cheng condensed his Dan again, raised his right hand, and swung down his arm like the thunder god. There was no time to dodge, so he used force concentration again and swelled his arm to block. Bam! Zhang Zhutong's body shook as if he had been hit by a bomb. Lu Cheng took advantage of the momentum and sat steadily on the golden Luan throne, launching a double explosion. He stepped forward, his left hand like an iron hammer, and struck fiercely. Zhang Zhutong had no choice but to launch another double explosion. He threw a punch forward to meet the attack head-on. Triple explosion, quadruple explosion. Lu Cheng gritted his teeth and endured the mental exhaustion, the throbbing pain in his head, and the discomfort in his body. He attacked crazily with the momentum of brutal blizzard. Zhang Zhutong's momentum was suppressed, but his combat experience was still there. He launched a quadruple explosion to hold on. At this point, both of them were exhausted. But Zhang Zhutong didn't know that Lu Cheng was in the same situation. In his eyes, Lu Cheng's hair and beard were all standing up. He looked majestic and didn't see the slightest sign of fatigue. He was shaken. He took the opportunity to retreat, but Lu Cheng caught up with him in big strides. Sometimes to the left, sometimes to the right, they kept fighting around the edge of the arena. The fight was so intense that Yan Zheka and the others forgot to breathe. 2 minutes later, Zhang Zhutong felt exhausted and slowed down his steps. Lu Cheng finally caught up with him. Lu Cheng was mentally exhausted, but his physical strength was good. After all, he was replenished by the Jindan. He glared at Zhang Zhutong and released his momentum. Zhang Zhutong was stunned for a moment, as if he was facing an invincible enemy. While he was stunned, Lu Cheng kicked up the pebbles and threw them at Zhang Zhutong's face. He gritted his teeth and wriggled his muscles, fascia, and organs to visualize the scene of the red sun breaking the ice. Zhang Zhutong subconsciously reached out his hand to block the stone that was flying at him. Then, he was hit by a punch that followed closely behind. He had to block. He had to block. Severe warning. Bam. After a short noise, Zhang Zhutong felt like he was back in the cryotherapy room last night. His mind was frozen bit by bit. Lu Cheng's mind was in chaos, but he instinctively leaned to the side and bumped his stiff opponent out of the arena. Zhang Zhutong fell outside the arena. Yin Huaming's expression changed slightly. He raised his right hand and shouted, "Lu Cheng wins." Zhang Zhutong, the #1 seed of the youth tournament, lost. Lu Cheng was on the verge of collapse, but there was still some qi in his body. When he heard the referee's announcement, all his emotions and pressure broke out. He straightened his body and roared to the sky. "I won!" At the end of the roar, he bent down and put his hands on his knees, gasping for breath. The audience saw his fatigue and knew that even Superman had his limits. This was a hard-fought victory. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.